Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll see what happens. We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I am a dissident.
Don't move. Move.
I'm saying no. Why you hear Palantir, 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 Palantir? It's not going to stop.
Seriously, we need to release the Epstein list.
Turns off.
I am not a church boy.
Turns off.
They're full-on vampires.
They hate our beef. They hate our beef. They hate our beef because our beef is beautiful and theirs is weak.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Death is the great equalizer. Death is the expiration date that God puts on us all. The weak, the powerful, the famous, the unknown. Lindsey Graham at 71 died of cardiac arrest last night in Washington, D.C. Lindsey Graham was the protege of one of the worst warmongers in modern history, John McCain. Lindsey Graham helped engineer all of the modern wars we've seen in the last 30 years. Lindsey Graham has been at the heart in the last 16 years of overthrowing governments in Ukraine with the State Department and engineering this war that's killed millions of people and that threatens thermonuclear Armageddon. Lindsey Graham, a few days before he died, was in Ukraine during all the different secret factories for the robot drones. And he was an ever-Trumper who consistently tried to undermine America first. The guy was a total globalist and also the equivalent of an Israeli agent. And of course, Israel's leadership is mourning his death. Now we'll have obviously a special election because he just won re-election for 6 years in his state. So I don't like to speak ill of the dead. His record speaks for itself. I saw him do an interview about a week and a half ago. His face was very puffy. He looked very, very unhealthy. And, quite frankly, he looks about like how Trump looks and showed signs just overall of serious issues. I'd also seen him on the campaign trail appear to be drunk quite a bit. We also saw him spend 3 days alone a few months ago, right before the election, in Disney World in Orlando, bizarrely walking around with a bubble wand, following little kids around.
I don't like to speak ill of the dead, but he was a saboteur, a globalist, an Israeli spy, a drunk, and probably a pedophile. But I don't like to speak ill of the dead, pay all due respect to Lindsey Graham. But I have nothing but positive things to say, except that, he was a traitor to the country and he followed kids around at Disneyland and he drank a lot. This is Alex Jones.
And I'm sure it didn't help those Antifa activists that had those rolling closets on wheels and kept telling them to get in and come out.
Yeah, exactly.
That was really getting to them.
Agitators, communist agitators. That's right. Well, of course, Alex Jones, he did get one detail wrong. That Lindsey Graham had not just won re-election, he is actually up for re-election. And now they're going to have a crunch time primary. The governor will fill the seat, so there will be an interim senator. But, of course, there's going to have to now be a primary to see who gets to run for Lady G's Senate seat. Hello, dissidents. Welcome, one and all, to a Sunday evening edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dobular, of course.
Hello.
We got 12:19 to start things off in the YouTube chat. Great crowd in here, 481 strong over on Rumble. We got Jake in the booth. Round of applause for Jake in the chat, please, and thank you very much. We're not going to let that intro go to waste. No. We're going to jump right in. The big news, of course, a statement at 2:02 a.m. Statement from the office of U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham from South Carolina. The office of U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham released the following statement. On the evening of Saturday, July 11th, U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham passed away from a brief and sudden illness. Senator Graham's family appreciates prayers at this time and asks for privacy during this incredibly difficult period. Just came out, literally, New York Times just printed about 8 minutes ago that an aortic dissection is the probable cause of death, which is a tear in the body's main artery. So that's the story. Donald Trump issued a very touching and tasteful statement. Senator Lindsey Graham, one of the greatest people and senators I have ever known, is dead! Exclamation point. He was always working and was a true American patriot. Lindsey will be greatly missed. Details and arrangements to follow. So sad. President Donald J. Trump. So this was Lindsey Graham just yesterday. Looked perfectly healthy. He died doing what he loved, folks, which is agitating for World War III. Here he is in Ukraine.
Now, as of about 30 minutes ago, we've reached agreement with the White House on a version of the Russian sanctions bill that they will support. It means it's going to become law. So when I get back to Washington, to the Republican and Democratic leader, to see if we can find time to move this Russian sanctions package that would give tools to President Trump to help end this war. The road to ending this war, the road to peace, passes through Beijing more than it does Washington, Kyiv, or Moscow. China has an oversized influence. I'd like them to use their influence for the good of the world.
Oh, okay. Is that right? He met with Zelensky himself while he was there. Zelensky, maybe this guy is a curse or something here. Good meeting with U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham. This was during his recent trip.
Good to see you. Good to see you again. Sure, good to see you again. Good to see you. Thank you for coming, Lindsey.
Yeah. Got a little update for you here.
Yeah.
Just tell me when I can talk. But good visit with the president, right?
Yeah, I think that we had really a good meeting.
Yeah,
the mood was good, and we had some very important results. And I think that the decision of President Trump about licenses, positive signals about Patriot licenses, very important.
That's right. As referring to Trump's new plan to supply Ukraine with Patriot missile technology, which I covered on the Jimmy Dore Show with our friend Caleb Maupin on Friday. Clint Russell, another friend of the show here, says, okay, get your tinfoil ready. Graham inspected a drone factory in Ukraine yesterday. Russia blew up that facility today. Then tonight, it's announced that Graham is dead from a sudden illness. No more details. I'd say there's a decent chance that Russia blew up Lindsey Graham. Now, I don't know if they could pull that off, saying that he flew back when he didn't. But truth of the matter is, he was at a Ukrainian drone facility. That is probably the last photo of him alive, holding up a drone. And that is a very fitting last photograph for a man who devoted just about his entire public life to waging war and bloodshed around the world. Now, Donald Trump was interviewed on the phone by the morning shows today, and Donald Trump says he spoke with Lindsey Graham last night, and that what Lindsey Graham really told him right before he died was that we had to pass the Save America Act.
Joining us, and my condolences to you.
Well, thank you. He's a tough one to lose. He was great. He was unique in every way, actually.
He was, Mr. President, and I know that we are all just absorbing this news.
His Secret Service code name was Ass Pirate.
Can you tell us,
Yeah.
Mr. President,
I can
how you
reveal that
received
now.
this news and your immediate gut reaction when you heard it?
So what makes it even stranger is that I got a call last night sometime at, the early evening, maybe in the 7s, and he called and he said, we're all set for the Save America Act. He was pushing the Save America Act like crazy. He got back, said he just landed from Ukraine. I said, that's a long trip to make. He said, he sounded a little...
He was on the phone with me while he was having a heart attack. His last words were, pass the Save America Act. His last words were, stop the illegals from voting.
tired, but perfect, but a little bit tired. Had a right to be. And he was a worker.
His last words were, "Stop the women and the blacks. I mean, the illegals from voting."
He was really a worker, but he sounded great actually. But he actually said he was tired, but he wanted to pass the Save America Act, and I said, "Well, we're going to get it done, Lindsey. We're going to get it done. I'll see you soon." We thought maybe we might even meet today, and then that was it. And that was very around the time. It couldn't have been much longer. It could have been his last call. I don't know exactly, but I got a message about 1:00 in the morning from one of the people at his office that he had passed away. I said, I just can't believe it. He was like a member of the family to me. It's very tough, actually. It's amazing.
Mr. President,
he was such an advocate. He was, if he wanted to get something, and he had a unique ability. He was able to deal with Democrats and Republicans. If I had a problem, a real problem, I wouldn't often ask. But if I had a problem with a Democrat, he could work it out. He was a great politician, actually.
He was a great man. He was like family. Wow. He was like family. Now, remember what Lindsey Graham had to say about Donald Trump when Graham ran against him briefly in 2016 for the nomination and remained staunchly anti-Trump throughout that election cycle. Here he is.
For a minute. I don't know who you are, and I don't know why you like this guy. I think what you like about him, he appears to be strong when the rest of us are weak. He's a very successful businessman, and he's going to make everything great. He's going to take all the problems of the world and put them in a box and make your life better.
He's a top in a town full of bottoms. Trust me, I know how hard it is to find a good top around here. There ain't too many of them on Capitol Hill.
That's what he's selling. Here's what you're buying. He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot.
Wow.
He doesn't represent my party. He doesn't represent the values that the men and women who wear the uniform are fighting for. I've been in the Air Force for 33 years. I retired this June. He's the ISIL Man of the Year, by the way. He just got back from Iraq a week ago this Monday.
I know. We interviewed you live from there.
Wow. Those are strong words. Those are words that Donald Trump tends to not forgive when a person goes that hard against him, unless they have a mutual friend. Who might that mutual friend be? Here's Benjamin Netanyahu remembering Lindsey Graham, talking about how Lindsey Graham was always insisting that Bibi demand even more aid for Israel from the United States. This is Benjamin Netanyahu paying his respects.
It's hard to believe, but we were receiving American support, military aid. And, we've done this through successive presidents. We did it with the first one was with Clinton, and then it was with Obama, and then with Trump, sort of a 10-year MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, where America gives Israel much valued support. Now, when I did this, when I negotiated this, I said, okay, this is what we need. We don't need any more. He said, yes, you do. I said, Lindsey, we don't need any more. And he would tell me, no, I'm going to go over your head to the Senate because I think you need more on missile defense or whatever, okay? And I think once or twice he got his way. But let me tell you, the last conversation I had with him, I said, Lindsey, we've come of age. We have a robust economy. We can take care of our own financing our own weapons for the defense of Israel and defense of our common interests with America. So I'm going to phase out the support, the military support for Israel over a period of years and bring it down to zero. We can do it. And he went ballistic. He said, no way, you can't do that, because he was so concerned.
He said, no way, you can't do that, screaming and yelling. And then he starts choking or something. I said, Lindsey, are you okay? Are you okay? Then I heard sirens in the background and the call cut out. Today, he's no longer with us. Was it me? Did I drive him to a heart attack? Because he's so impassioned with Israel that his heart could not handle it. That is the beginning and end of Israel's greatest friend.
I will tell you the truth. This is something we learn in the Mossad, that you have to use different tactics with different people. So with Miriam, with Donald, we threatened the 15-inch. With Lindsey, we threatened she's going to sit on his face.
Lindsey.
This is how we get our way with
Lindsey,
Lindsey.
we threaten pussy.
We
That's
threaten
what he
pussy
does. Yes,
on his
that's it.
face.
He
He especially he hates that.
He hates that.
With our security, which he believed was your security, that he
One
actually
time we
fought
really had
the
to
Prime
scare
Minister
him.
of Israel on
We put my wife on the wing of the plane.
Yeah.
keeping America's aid or actually increasing it. And that tells you what kind of a person this extraordinary friend was.
Well, you're right about that. It does tell you what kind of person he was. That's for sure. That's for sure. I'll give you that, my friend. Speaking of what kind of person he was, here is Lindsey Graham calling for dropping a nuclear bomb on Gaza. Our friend Max Blumenthal found the clip here, as did many others. A lot of eulogizing of Lindsey Graham on the Twitter machine today.
Faced with destruction as a nation after Pearl Harbor, fighting the Germans and the Japanese, we decided to end the war by bombing Hiroshima and Nagasaki with nuclear weapons. That was the right decision. Give Israel the bombs they need to end the war they can't afford to lose, and work with them to minimize casualties. Can I say this?
Yeah.
Why is it okay for America to drop 2 nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki to end their existential threat war? Why was it okay for us to do that? I thought it was okay.
Well, some
Israel,
people say it
do
wasn't.
whatever you have to do to survive as a Jewish state.
Do whatever you have to do. Why was it okay for the United States to drop 2 nuclear bombs, but Israel can't? Now, if you think it
A
was
lot of
just
people
him,
said we were going to get giant moths, lizards. None of that happened. None of that happened.
none of that happened. They made some movies about it, fiction. But that was not a one-off. That was not a one-off. As Max said there, he repeatedly called to nuke Gaza. So in case you thought that was just, him having a bad day, no, here he is. As Hats Off points out, this wasn't the first time Lindsey Graham suggested nuking Gaza.
Since October 7th, many people in this part of the world say what happened in Gaza does not align with Christian values. Killing children, killing mothers,
Well, to be honest
killing
with
families
you,
who are not militants.
Yeah, I don't buy that at all.
Why?
Because what did we do in World War II? Did we think 1 minute about starving the Germans? Did we bomb every city into smithereens? So this
You
is a
compare
war. No,
October
this is,
7th to World War II.
Yes, I am. This is an absolute existential threat to the Jewish people. What happened on October the 7th?
Okay, and that was not the only other time. That was not the only other time. Here's Lindsey Graham saying Americans shouldn't care about civilian Palestinians being killed because they didn't care about Berlin dying in World War II. So see, this was a very consistent talking point of his that he was very proud of.
Palestinian civilians have been killed. Do you agree with that?
Well, tell us how to do it differently. Yeah, what is too many people dying in World War II after Pearl Harbor? Did the American public worry about how many people were dying to destroy Tokyo and Berlin? I know this is not the same, but it's similar.
Here's another banger from Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham's been pronounced dead after a sudden illness. We're killing all the right people and we're cutting your taxes. He said that's his midterm message, I guess. I guess he'll never get to test it out, see how it goes.
Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. Why? Because if you got a problem with that, take it up with God. He's the guy that did it, not Trump. So I just want to say, I feel good about the Republican Party. I feel good about where we're going as a nation. We're killing all the right people and we're cutting your taxes.
Nice guy, right? Nice
Yeah.
guy. That's a hell of a message. That's a hell of a message. He won't live to see how well it works in November. But Twitter had their own way of eulogizing Lindsey Graham. Here are some of the takes. Mitch McConnell showing up to work tomorrow with a big Frankenstein scar on his forehead and a much gayer voice than before. 763,000 views. Hey, I had a very successful tweet today. Still no statement from Grindr. Shame. Yes, that did well. That's up over 1 million. That's up over 1 million now. Yeah, it did very well. A lot of people are saying that's the best tweet they ever read.
Yeah,
it's true.
A lot of people, a lot of very smart people are saying.
A lot of very smart people are saying that. Yeah. Our friend Jimmy says Lindsey Graham is dead. It's bad to speak ill of the dead, so I'll just say while he was alive, he was as horribly evil and as bloodthirsty as they come. A true demon and an enemy of humanity. As a dead guy, I'm guessing he's no better. but it's bad form to speak ill of the dead, so I won't. There you go. Now, Piers Morgan, very offended by this, seeing the despicably cruel, heartless, and abusive way that many people in the US and UK have responded to the deaths of conservative politicians, Anne Whitcomb and Lindsey Graham, I never heard of Anne Whitcomb, reminds me that the least people on earth are ironically those of the be kind woke left.
Oh, yeah. Now, if Barack Obama dropped dead tomorrow,
yeah, I'm sure
the entire conservative space would be the figure and form of decorum and sympathy.
Yeah, I'm sure End Wokeness would keep it really classy.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Fourth World Creative responds to him. Did you forget that your precious Lindsey Graham called for Greta Thunberg to be murdered because she wanted to feed Palestinians? Where was your fucking be kind speech then, you fucking Zionist cuck? Well said. Yep, there he is. Hope Greta and her friends can swim. Can swim. Pretty blatant invitation for the Israelis to bomb their boat on a humanitarian mission. But then there were the more heartfelt tributes to Lindsey Graham, like this from Sean Hannity, who apparently spelled his name wrong twice. I woke up this morning to the tragic news that Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina has passed away.
That's his drag name, actually.
Yeah, with the Y, right? Exactly.
Yeah,
That's how he keeps his grinder identity, separate. Lindsey was a dear friend and the hardest working man in the U.S. Senate. He was also one of President Trump's most loyal supporters. Ben Gvir, another very heartfelt tribute to Lindsey Graham. Today, Israel has lost one of its greatest friends. Not my greatest friend. Nobody can admit to being my friend since I'm a convicted criminal terrorist. But he was one of Israel's greatest friends. Senator Lindsey Graham stood with Israel not because it was easy, but because he believed it was right. His unwavering support, courage, and moral clarity earned him the admiration of millions of Israelis. The state of Israel will always remember his friendship, his unwavering support, and his steadfast commitment to Israel's security. Heartfelt condolences to his family and to the American people. May his memory be a blessing. You know, you lived a pretty shitty life when the most earnest tribute to you in death is from Itamar Ben Gvir. That's how you know you have spent your time not so well. But hey, he's got another friend.
And the best part is he never did anything that is going to force us to release the tapes.
That's right. That's right. Here's Cory Booker. Cory Booker offering some thoughts on his friend Lindsey Graham. I'm stunned by Senator Graham's passing.
And I'm a brand new senator, determined to do something about it. So I go up to Lindsey Graham, and I'm a brand new senator, determined to do something about mass incarceration. And I hear through Dick Durbin and others that he's the guy to work with. And I say, Mr. Graham, sir, I'd like to work with you on...
I still don't understand why, of all people, he would send a guy like me to a guy like Lindsey. It's almost as if he sensed that both of us had something in common that not many others shared on Capitol Hill. He had good instincts to say, Cory, I know just the Republican for you to break bread with, and it's Lindsey Graham. I didn't really know why he thought that, but I would soon find out.
Criminal justice reform. He seems almost amused by what I said. He goes, Cory, do you understand? I'm in a primary right now, and I'm running against a guy who is batshit crazy. I can't even so much as talk to you right now. Get out of here, man. Come back to me after my primary. And
I cannot be seen with the likes of you while I'm in a primary in South Carolina, but do save my number.
I laughed and came back to him after the primary. And true to his word, he rolled up his sleeves and we went to work. And thanks to him and Dick Durbin and some other Senate heroes, our bill became the First Step Act after years, 2 presidents, 2 Congresses, and became law. One of my favorite moments in that negotiation was at the last minute, I'm trying to force one more thing into that bill. This has to do with children being put in solitary confinement. And I am going at it with this White House official.
You said you want that last amendment, do you? Well, let's sneak off to the men's room and see if you can suck it out of me. How's that? And I said, if that's what it takes to get the First Step Act passed into law, then that's what it takes. And that is American democracy at work, folks. That is the hidden episode of Schoolhouse Rock there. That's the South Park version of Schoolhouse Rock.
He was the one who told me when I told him I wanted to run for president. He said, you can't run for president without a beard. So I started growing a beard. Next time he saw me, he laughed. He said, not that kind of beard. So I started dating Rosario.
Yeah. Yep. And almost got me
Still
to
didn't become
one
president.
primary. Yeah. Almost got me a couple votes. Not quite, but I'll keep trying. So, yep, that's a eulogy from the Democratic side. Our friend Janine Eunice says, I
Just
know
closed my eyes and thought of Bieber.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I know we're supposed to feign sadness over everyone's death. If I can't do that, I generally don't say anything. I find it impossible to do that in the case of Lindsey Graham. Power to relentlessly advocate for war, often successfully, and exhibited no regard for the sanctity of human life, including the American youth he flippantly sought to send to die overseas, nor empathy for the people who were killed or whose lives were destroyed by implementation of the policies he endorsed. He didn't deserve 71 years to live in peace and frequent the Charleston gay bars he loved so much. However, I do wish he had not died an untimely death so that he could be tried for his crimes against humanity. He got off far too easy, given what he has done. Yeah, well said. Well said. You know, as nasty a bastard as I am, I tend to not speak ill of the dead either, especially if it's like a commentator. Like even when a guy like Rush Limbaugh died, I was like, you know what? He did what I did for a living. He was a terrible guy. He said terrible shit, but he was a commentator practicing his free speech rights, you know, whatever. I got nothing to say about him after he died, and so I don't say anything. I'm certainly not going to say nice things about him. No, this was a guy who pursued power relentlessly and wielded that power in order to cause maximum death and destruction around the world. He was a true menace to humanity, and the world is a better place without him here. And so that's all I got to say about Lindsey Graham. He was just a nakedly evil man, as we've demonstrated in clip after clip. And that's about all I got to say about him.
Yeah, I don't believe in that. I think what I thought about you yesterday when you weren't dead is the same thing I'm going to say about you now that you're dead.
Sure. But I'm just saying, like, in the case of, like, a commentator or someone who's out of public life, like Robert Mueller, like, I'm not saying I love the guy in death, but I'm just saying I don't feel compelled to pile on in that. Except when you have
it depends
power.
what
Like, if
they
you're
did.
a person in position of power. Yeah.
Yeah, it depends what they did.
Depends what you did. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it could be my neighbor. If I thought they were an asshole and they dropped dead tomorrow, I'm going to be like, people go, oh, that's terrible. I'm going to be like, they were a fucking asshole. Like, I don't even understand that. Like, I thought that yesterday. I'm not going to go up to, like, their mom and say that.
Right.
But if it's a casual person I'm talking to, sure. Like I don't get the logic of that. I get because people think that you shouldn't do it, just not to bring the heat on yourself. That's the only reason. Like I don't have an ethical issue with throwing that at people that I hated yesterday. All of a sudden, what? I like them better now that they're dead. When somebody like that dies, I will usually say, the world is no poorer for their passing. The world is better today. The world is a better place without them in it. Because I don't usually casually dislike people to that degree. If I dislike you, there's a reason. There's a reason. And if you're a public figure who is very careless with the people that your platform allows you to reach, I have absolutely no patience for you. So a commentator like Limbaugh, burn in hell. I would say that 5 minutes after he died. I don't care. With a guy like Lindsey Graham, I think we're all on the same page. I saw probably the best observation about this was, you want to see the disconnect? Look at all of the politicians and media figures eulogizing him compared to how normal people are reacting. And this is what Piers Morgan is reacting to. The peasants are getting unruly.
Yeah, well, he's just a simp. I mean, he's always been a simp. Like, even when you had people, expressing disregard or disrespect for the Queen's passing, of course, Piers being a, upper class Brit in good standing, he very offended. I forget who he went after for that, but there was some person. There was some person like an Indian guy.
Fuck the Queen.
Well, you could imagine how, people like from India might, have negative feelings. But like there was some person I forget who it was, but, a person whose ancestors, maybe even immediate family, were victims of British colonization, who said something like "fuck the Queen." He's like, "How dare you say," so he's always a fucking simp in that way,
Right.
And so that's not really too unexpected from him. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing nice to say about Lindsey Graham. He made his disregard for human life very known on purpose over and over again. You just saw that 3 separate occasions saying, yeah, why should we care how many civilians die in Gaza? We didn't care in World War II. Well, I think some people did care actually in World War II. I think bad people didn't care in World War II, but I think some people did. Some people did. And
there's a world outside of America where most people consider what we did in Hiroshima and Nagasaki war crimes.
Yeah, I think a lot of Americans probably thought that and still do to this day. So yeah, no, he acted like, no one should have cared then. No one should care now. Yeah, just an absolutely dreadful guy. And as for you, didn't you used to play country music in the courtyard and barbecue and people? So I'm sure there are people in your building who are going to say that about you when you go.
Okay.
Fuck you.
What do I care? I'm dead.
Just saying.
What does it matter?
Just to let you know, it's possible.
Sure, go ahead. Well, see,
I'll interview them.
This is really the core of this. The only reason people say that is because they want that rule to apply to them.
All right.
I don't care. Say whatever you want when I'm gone.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's
Bye.
not like,
ya.
exactly.
I'm
It doesn't matter
here.
to you. Exactly. Doesn't matter to you. So, yeah, pretty surprising news, pretty surprising twist there. And Mitch McConnell actually did offer a proof of life today. So there you go. So that just adds a little extra twist to the already surprising twist of waking up today to find out that Lindsey Graham passes away at 71.
Very shocked.
All right.
So not for part of the segment. I don't actually dislike any of my neighbors. Everyone's nice.
No,
I don't actually have anything against it. It was just an example.
No, I know, but when you brought that up, I was like, hey, come to think of it, neighbors.
I think anyone who would remember that has long moved out.
Yeah.
That was like when I moved in freaking 20 years ago. Because I was working in the backyard, so I would play country music, and it didn't even occur to me. And I was like, yeah, I'm the white dude who took over the apartment with the backyard, who's out here digging and playing Johnny Cash all
digging in overalls with a rooster. Yeah.
There was a rooster that would come from the neighboring yard.
Yeah,
he would follow me to get the worms.
A piece of straw in your mouth. Yeah. Oh boy. Nocturnal Human says you guys won't have any impressions left to do by the end of the year. I know. Graham crackers and turtle soup today. I know. We lost Plattner and we lost Lindsey Graham in the same week. John Olmstead, 2 voice impressions gone in 1 week. A rough week for Keaton. Yes, indeed. I know. Nobody thinks about me. Nobody thinks about me. Everybody just thinks about themselves.
Can't just hang on another year.
Yeah, exactly. Everything's a scam. Everything's a lie. Everything's hypocrisy. And so you don't comply, says Vianticus Prime. Thank you, Vianticus. Professor Brown note, why I never ain't that old lady Lindsay caddying for Lord Lucifer. Ooh-wee. Y'all best watch that dog leg on the 19th. Thank you. James Holmes says, Graham is dead. Thought he was pro-life. Hypocrite. Yes, thank you. Laura Marin. Hi, guys. Please talk about Lorenzo Salgado Araujo. He's the latest person executed by ICE. This was in Texas on Tuesday. He was Mexican. Please. Well, I did do a segment on him. It was just on the Jimmy Dore show. When we host for Jimmy, we kind of split the stories. We don't like to repeat.
Tricky.
Yeah, we don't like to repeat stories. So we did cover that. I covered that on Jimmy's channel, and I believe the clip dropped yesterday. So it's on YouTube now, if you'd like to watch it. But thank you. That is an absolutely horrible story. Sculling Skunk. What was Lindsey doing in Kiev a couple days ago? Well, we showed you. Agitating for sanctions on Russia and I guess gloating about the Patriot missile system. I don't know what there was there to finalize. I thought we had pretty much finalized that. I hope when they play taps, all the notes come out as wet farts. Thank you, Vianticus Prime. Chris Allegra Says, I stand with Dew. I stand with Dew. Thank you. Professor Brown note, Carolina Warhorse, welcome. No ice in hell. I reckon about now Lady L will be hotter than a June bride in a feather bed. Thank you, Professor Brown note. Antebellum, Gone with the Wind. Good one, Antebellum. I like that.
All right, I got a new display here. I gotta move it down. Yeah.
Doug Ritchie says Lindsey Graham died of botulism, bad meat in the can. Yeah. Eric Cousseau says Lindsey Graham was killed in a missile strike to his ass by Ukrainian rent boy. He died in combat. Lindsey Graham, rest in power bottom. Oh, look at that. These guys all got jokes today. With Lindsey gone, we're that much closer to defeating the globalists, says Russell's Peasant Mind. Excuse me. Says, I don't cry when war pigs die. No, neither do I. Neither do I. It's one of those things that I guarantee. You know, you say something and you can absolutely guarantee without a doubt it's going to get misinterpreted in the comments. When I said normally I don't, speak ill of the dead, but in his case I make an exception, people are going to be like, oh, why not? You know what I mean? I just said, yeah, of course I would in his case. Comrade Cranky, Lindsey Graham is just one more U.S. NATO Israeli Zionist that we can forget and throw in a trash bin of history. The Anticus Prime says we'll all miss the ass pirate rendition of the classic Southern Belle. Sabby played an audio of ER services supposedly responding to a call from Graham's house. Yeah, no, I saw that too. I mean, I thought it was a clever idea since Russia did strike that factory. But yeah, I mean, it would be pretty hard to logistically, pull off a hoax of his having come back if he didn't actually fly back. All right, I'll take a couple more here, then we'll go on to segment number 2. I like how in one of these assholes croaks you get this parade of people performing the magic trick of somehow blowing the corpse and themselves at the same time. Yep. Russell's Peasant Mind. Lindsey, I've been in the Air Force 30 years and I've enjoyed every year of it. Good one. Death is the great equalizer. He can't enthusiastically endorse genocide anymore. Thank you, Good Samaritan. Appreciate that. All right, let's move right on along, shall we?
Okay, so as you might have heard, our illustrious mayor, his office anyway, released a map of New York City immigrant enclaves. Now, right at the top is Chinatown in my native Flushing, which is actually the largest population of Asian people outside of Asia, anywhere on Earth. If you want to really have authentic regional Asian food, that's the place to go. Then you got Chinatown in Manhattan, Chinatown, Sunset Park. You got a little Albania, a little Bangladesh, a little Caribbean, a little Colombia. A lot of this is in Queens. Like Queens is kind of a concentration of a lot of the new immigrant groups. Whereas interestingly, for the Ellis Island immigrants, Queens was where you moved to get away from the slums in Manhattan. They moved to Queens. That's when you were starting to move up. You moved to Queens. Now it's kind of become a starting place for the new immigrants that are coming more from Asia and Africa. So, okay, fair enough. These are the immigrant groups coming to New York now. These are the places that they live. You have a little Poland there, but realistically, most of the immigrants we get today are not coming from Europe. It's weird. A lot of people don't want to go bankrupt if they get sick. So it tends to deter Europeans from moving to the United States. It's strange. But these days, we don't get a lot of people from countries with actual functioning social services.
They don't want to create apps where people drive shit to other people in cars. I mean, you could become like a trillionaire doing that. I guess they don't want to do that. I guess they're just lazy.
I can't believe they don't want to come here and do that with absolutely no social safety net. I can't believe that. So yeah, Q meltdown. No Italians, Irish, or Jews. NYC mayor's office of hating white people. I mean, look, you tell Polish people they're not white, those are going to be some fighting words. Now, Hitler didn't feel that Slavic people were white, but I'll tell you, Slavic people usually don't feel that way about it. Fuck you, Zora Mamdani, you spoiled little Ugandan fuck who came to America with a silver spoon and a manifesto to destroy NYC. Now you're fucking with Italians. Big fucking mistake.
You should have a game on Twitter. Joe Pesci or Michael Rappaport? Guess.
Yeah. They're really acquitting themselves well here. Now, this is kind of interesting. These guys have really been weighing in. The Italian American Civil Rights League. We were here before Zoran. We will be here long after Zoran. Little Italy will not be erased. And so, you know what? At first it didn't click. But then as I was reviewing my slides before the show, I said, hang on, the Italian American Civil Rights League. And I looked it up to make sure I was right. Yeah, you know who founded that?
Yeah, it's a mobster.
Joe Colombo.
Yeah.
Joe Colombo, the head of one of the 5 families, took over from Joe Profaci. And it's still known, still bears his name, even though he was the second boss, the Colombo crime family. He was actually shot in the neck by a black gunman who was probably put up to it by Crazy Joe Gallo, shot in the neck right on Columbus Circle. They were having a big event for the Italian American Civil Rights League. So these guys, it gets even better. It's been shut down forever. They decided to revive it. So they intentionally decided to revive an organization and keep the same name of the organization that was founded by a mob boss, basically to use it as a smokescreen, because this is the birth of identity groups. This period, late 60s, early 70s, it's the birth of the hyphenated American. So Joe Colombo decides this would be a good way to get the press and the cops off our back. We claim that when they talk about the mafia, it's anti-Italian discrimination. This is why the word mob and mafia don't appear in The Godfather. They never use the word mafia in The Godfather because they got leaned on. One cop during this period,
didn't exist.
They didn't exist, right?
Of course.
Well, that's what they were trying to sell. One cop was quoted as saying, even the gangsters got civil rights organizations now. Katie Zaccaria. It's going to be the Italian Americans who save NYC from the communist takeover of NYC. The 5 boroughs just woke up. Sounds like fucking Vinny Barbarino, this one. The 5 boroughs just woke up. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what? After you guys wake up, you better get on the Long Island Railroad because all your fucking cousins moved to Long Island 50 years ago. You better go out there, get them to come back to New York and register as voters here. They don't live here anymore.
Out there. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't live here. Dave Rubin. You notice how the Zionists are always behind these things? They're always behind it. And when they're not directly behind it, they co-opt it. But they're pretty much behind it in this case. Dave Rubin. The Italians, Jews, Irish, Greeks, Puerto Ricans, and all other real New Yorkers are slowly forming old school pact to save NYC. Well, yeah, no. Those groups have always gotten along very well. There's never been any tension between Puerto Ricans, Irish, Italians. Nah. You don't at all sound exactly like the people who discriminated against them and against your people, actually. You don't at all sound like that, right? There were groups that were here before those groups that didn't want these groups coming in. You know that, right, Dave?
It's a reasonable request, but an unreasonable figure.
So, not to be outdone, whale of a cunt, Barry Weiss's fake newsletter here. She got $250 million for pushing propaganda for oligarchs. They did a piece on this. Why? Well, because the Zionists saw there might be some advantage in pushing this story.
You a year. You are not a New Yorker. You have no clue.
I'm Isabella Reggi, and today we are here in Little Italy asking the locals how they feel about one of the oldest immigrant communities, Little Italy, not being included on Mayor Mamdani's immigrant enclave map.
I don't consider you to be my mayor.
I think it's disgraceful for what he's doing. He's got to be fair to everybody, and he's not fair to everybody. He's not fair to the Jewish people, which he makes everybody notice he's not fair to the Jewish people. He's not fair to the Irish people, and now he hates the Italians. For what reason? What do we do to him that he should hate us?
They always sort of pushed us to the side. I got it. Yeah. In other words, Little Italy, they take care of their own problems. And we were always pushed aside. And I think it's about time that...
Pushed to the side? What the fuck are you talking about? Little Italy until the mid-90s was overrun by the mafia. What are you going to pretend that's not the case? Oh, they gave you attention. They gave you attention from the feds.
Hey, fuck you. I'm a new subscriber. I found this new Substack called The Free Press. Vinny, you ever hear this? Been reading it. I've been glued to that. I can't put that down. I read this column by this guy, Michael Schellenberg-Stein, whatever the fuck his name is, talking about how postmodern colonial theory is a byproduct of elite overproduction. It was fucking blew my fucking mind. You got to read this fucking shit. I sprung for the paid subscription. You know, you get $8 off if you bite for the whole year. You got to do it. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, and I see Colin Glary in the
construction site Italians talking about the Free Press. That's a good reality show.
So a bunch of old guys. Yeah, exactly. You're not going to see one person under 50. Not one in this entire video. You know why? Because their kids all moved out of the neighborhood.
We have to be firm about this. Otherwise, we'll totally be forgotten.
If you understand what took place here over 100 years ago, between 1880 and 1920, when the mass migration of Italian immigrants first came, this was the stepping stone for the Italians.
Well, the Bari family came here 120 years ago from Sicily. They were immigrants. They landed down in what's known as the 5 Points. Grandma started the San Gennaro Festival.
Okay. So what you're saying is 120 years ago, your grandmother was an immigrant. Are you claiming that you're an immigrant? You're not claiming you're an immigrant, right? In fact, your immigration history is over a century old by your own admission.
That right up there, that is Grandma. That is Grandma. Grandma from the Bari family. Okay, she is the heart and soul of this neighborhood.
My grandfather was on the Society of St. Gennaro, which happens to be this year 100 years.
Yeah, the Society of San Gennaro that was, for most of its history, run by the Genovese crime family. That one? Is that the one you mean?
So it means a lot to me, Little Italy, you know?
There's no such thing as left or right down here. Both sides of the street are beautiful.
And what makes New York City such a special place is a collage of many different cultures. People from all over the world come here.
You know, I mean, like, white ones, those kind of cultures. The brown ones, bada boom, bada bing, we're not too fucking crazy about. You know what I'm talking about?
I was listening one time.
And they need to be recognized for the contributions that they brought to this wonderful country.
There's one of these type of guys here, one of these outer borough New York Italian guys. They called into the Michael Savage show one day when he had his radio show. And it sounded like he was going to make this really profound, nice point. But, Michael, here in New York, we got people of all kinds here. We got Chinese, we got Jewish, we got Italian, we got Irish, we got white, we got black, we got Mexican. And we all understand we got one very big thing in common. We're not Muslims. And we don't like Muslims.
Well,
that's literally what he said. Hey, we could all bond over something, no matter who you are.
Well,
there's one group we really hate.
And that's pretty much what they're going for here.
Yeah, of course.
So New York Post, Mamdani's anti-Italian hate is no surprise. It is foundational to his Marxist beliefs. Yeah. 12 rats at a keyboard. Nice handle. I feel like I'm going insane. No Italian has actually lived in Little Italy since 1996. A bunch of restaurants named Mama's Cafe Italiano that are owned by Berkshire Hathaway. Well said, sir. And you know what? This is unreleased footage. I shot this for my channel. I never used it. I already kind of made the point. If you follow Russ on the Road, you know, I've kind of been showing how unusually empty a lot of the most heavily touristed areas in New York are. So I did a Little Italy one, and this was a follow-up. I never used it, though. But this will give you an idea what it looks like, but that's why I'm talking about how there are no tourists in this video. See already from here, there's nobody there, just like last week and the week before. Some people said it's more of a nighttime thing. Yeah, for certain people. Not for student tour groups, not for big tour groups with a guide. That's more of a daytime thing. And they're not here. I know, because I used to do those tours. You see any Italian? And it would be packed, and it would be very hard for me to get my groups up and down the street because there were so many people. We don't need the narration. Look at that. Look at that. A bunch of T-shirts, a bunch of "Kiss Me, I'm Italian" hats. That's it. You see Italian. You see a little old Strega walking across the street, pushing our shopping cart. What do you see? What do you see? Like the idea that Italians have some kind of, sure, a historic interest in it. Sure, as part of the history, just like Jews have with the Lower East Side, but they don't live there anymore. They're not there anymore. Look, this is Little Italy. There are no Italian people here. This is
it's a movie.
It's three blocks. It's 3 blocks of restaurants. That's all it is. And in fact, Chinatown has eaten almost all of it. It's eaten almost all of Little Italy. Little Italy used to be much bigger. Now Mott Street is gone. Everything around it is gone pretty much. It's just this little 3 blocks of restaurants here on Mulberry Street. That's all you got.
See some Chinese lettering there on that one. So,
right.
Yeah,
Yeah. They used to not even you used to, Canal was a very strict dividing line. You used to never see any of the Chinatown businesses. Now they are starting to even creep into Mulberry Street.
Yeah.
And
so I'm
biking
most of Mott Street there, around Canal. That's why in the season finale of The Sopranos, you have when Butchie's playing in the sit down on the phone. By the time he gets off the phone, he looks around. He's in Chinatown. He's like, "Where the fuck am I?" He turns around. That was a while ago. That was 20 years ago.
Well, and also you having been a tour guide, you could see what I'm saying. Like, look how empty it is.
Yeah.
Look at this. Yeah. Peak tour season. It's like that. But that's a separate subject. But yeah, so that's what this is what they're talking about. What you just saw, that's what they're talking about when they talk about Little Italy. Alexis Pereira, that video of Italian Americans in Little Italy yelling at Mamdani for not calling them immigrants, but then talking about how their grandparents came to America 100 years ago, is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Modern Roman freefall. Seriously. Italian Americans are 100 years off the boat, stopped teaching or speaking Italian since my boomer mother's generation, and are all mixed with Irish, Polish, or some other Catholic diaspora who are similarly assimilated. It's an immigration story as American as apple pie. Yeah, you know what we used to call Italians in my neighborhood? Gimmicks, because they were all half Irish. I'm not going to explain it if you can't figure that out. Steve Buscemi in this meme, Italian Americans whose great-grandparents came over in 1890 when Mayor Mamdani leaves Little Italy, established in 1880 off the map of current immigrant enclaves. And Steve Buscemi there with the skateboard, the Italia hat. How do you do, fellow immigrants? Yeah. William James. All right, I've laughed enough. Joke's over, guys. Now, this is a true fact. 0 Italian-born immigrants are living in Manhattan's Little Italy. Little Italy is shishi now. It's shishi. It's upscale. No immigrant would be able to afford that rent. That's why they live in Queens. They can't afford Manhattan. They make up 0% of the neighborhood's population. Percentage of people who claim Italian ancestry, less than 3 to 5%. Less than 3 to 5%. So literally zero immigrants, and hardly any Italians. You would find this percentage of Italians pretty much anywhere that you went in New York City. If you surveyed the neighborhood, you would probably find about that percentage of people who identified as having some Italian descent. But it's pretty interesting that you'd want to pick Mulberry Street as a focus of Italian history, because really, I'm not arguing that Italian history is tied up invariably with mob history. The vast majority of Italians were hardworking, honest immigrants that the mafia preyed upon. A lot of them came to America to get away from the mafia because the mafia was robbing them back home. But Mulberry Street in particular was the heart, literally the heart of the American mafia. Like, you cannot talk about Mulberry Street without talking about the control that the mafia had over it for almost all of its history, going back to the first real mafia family in America. That is the Clutch Hand Morello, Giuseppe Clutch Hand Morello. He was the first real mafia boss in America, the Morello crime family. Now, just to show you, this isn't a piece about Italians being the mafia. His arch nemesis was a guy named Joe Petrosino, who was the first Italian on the New York police force. He actually got gunned down in Palermo trying to investigate these guys to get them deported. He was there one day. They gunned him down. He was the first cop in America to have an organized crime unit, and he was the first NYPD cop to be killed overseas in the line of duty. You got Umberto's Clam House there, where Crazy Joey Gallo was whacked. They portrayed that in Scorsese's awful movie, The Irishman. I actually quite like the place that's there now, De Gennaro's, for like, if you want that very Italian-American food, they do a good version of that. You got the Ravenite Social Club. Now that's Den of Thieves, a very shishi little clothing store. But that was John Gotti's social club. And yeah, as I was saying, the Genovese had control over the San Gennaro feast for most of its history. It was actually Giuliani who broke the strangle. He came out and said, when I was growing up, these things were known, but you didn't talk about them. Yeah, he came out and he said, yeah, the mafia runs this. It's terrible. And I'm going to put a stop to it. And give him his due. He did. So yeah, but no, they were taxing all the vendors for most of the history of the San Gennaro feast. So now this is really funny, man. Last I heard, conservatives don't like crime, right? They're supposed to be anti-crime. All these people are leaning into this image of like the mafia is going to come and show Mamdani, right? So Gunther Eagleman posted this: Little Italy helped build New York City, leaving it off an ethnic enclave map. That's not what it is. It's specifically an immigrant map. Is a mistake that deserves an explanation. And frankly, even if it were an ethnic enclave map, Little Italy today would no longer qualify. It would qualify as a historic map of immigration. But there are, as we just demonstrated, there are no Italians there.
You're going to forget about Little Italy? I don't think so.
The Slopranos. That's what they call that.
The
series.
Slopranos.
The Slopranos. The AI Slopranos.
Pyramid Chad. Conservatives piss their pants about crime and gangs and then tell you how cool white criminal gangs are. Isn't that funny? They love the mafia. They love the Italian who historically were not considered white. Like the same exact people who are throwing a fit about these new immigrant groups are the people who called Italian garlic eaters and said they had too many kids. Like most of the things that they would direct today at Latin Americans, they used to direct at Italians. Very, very similar kind of stereotypes. And just to show you the kind of people who are manipulating people with these with this kind of propaganda, this is the real Gunther Eagleman for anyone who's never seen this. His name's David Freeman. Apparently he eats bananas with a spoon. Okay. He's got a pink sweater tied over his neck, drinking a Starbucks, sitting there with his laptop. Honestly, looking at this picture, my theory is that Gunther Eagleman is a lib who hates the kind of people who follow his account so much that he has no moral problem with exploiting their stupidity for money. That would be my theory looking at this picture, that he's laughing his ass off all the way to the bank at the fact that these morons take the kinds of things he posts seriously.
Yo, whoa, I thought this guy was on our side. Seems like kind of a fanoik over here, and I don't
A
say
little
that
bit of a
lightly.
fanook.
I ain't no garlic eater over here. I just read that Joni Skinner piece about the detransitioner movement, post-woke, free press, paid subscribers only. Gotta get it.
I was telling all the guys over at Cafe Roma, you got to read this.
Gotta read this. Put down the sports section for once in your life, you fucking Goomba.
So, silver bell for you. We need the mob back. Here's Michael Franzese, mob turncoat, talking about what they would have done with Mamdani in the old days.
My era, Cosa Nostra Mafia of my era, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, into the early 90s, would not have supported Mamdani as mayor of New York. As a matter of fact, we would have worked hard to make sure that he wasn't the mayor. And if he became the mayor and we didn't like it, he might have had a problem. I'm telling you the truth. That's the maybe ugly side, but that's the truth. Be safe, especially you people in New York. I'm telling you, watch yourself. Police off the street, crime is going to run wild. It's going to run wild. 17, 18, 19 times back on the street to commit more crimes. Because there's a lack of enforcement, law enforcement. It's right in front of you. What more do you need to see?
Well, we need to see crime running wild, which it hasn't.
Yeah, this is what you got to remember with these guys. What you got to remember with Franzese, what you got to remember with Sammy the Bull. These guys were career criminals, and a lot of being a mob criminal is being a con artist, is being a hustler, is being a liar, being a thief, right? So these guys went to prison, and they come out, and they don't want to go work in Cinnabon, so they decide to go into the takes business. And what do? They feed an audience a con. They feed them a con of what they want to hear. He knows that this, kind of hysteria about Mamdani is what a lot of his core audience wants to hear. And also because there's a reason that everyone you see in these videos is 50 and over. There was a period after The Godfather. The Godfather was the best PR that the mob ever had. Everybody in New York, when I was growing up, bought into this idea of the mafia as being honorable men, right? Men of honor, kind of rebel outlaws. Then Goodfellas came along and kind of debunked that. That was the first thing that really showed what it was really like. And then, of course, The Sopranos kind of continued in that vein of kind of de-romanticizing the mob. This language these people are talking, it's all very much from that era. Yeah, you know what the fucking mafia would do to you? You know what? If the mafia neighborhoods are so fucking safe. I grew up with this shit. And this is why all these people are my age and older. Anybody younger than that does not speak this language because they didn't grow up with this idealization of the mafia. If you're a native New Yorker who grew up around that time, yeah, the mafia was very idealized. So Frankie Bones, I'm sure you can back up that name. Honest to God, we actually do. Sad to say, but they did a way better and fair job at this point as far as policing neighborhoods. The safest neighborhoods were always the mob-infested ones. Well, how about for the motherfuckers they were shaking down? How about for the people who were getting extorted by them under threat? Was it safe for them? Yeah, you didn't have street crime, but you had crime committed by them. They didn't like things messy in their own neighborhoods.
Hey, whoa, you telling me Israel don't have the right to defend itself, you fucking mook?
Yeah, exactly. Fact. A notable exception. That would come into full circle. Former Mayor Giuliani got rid of the mob to clean up NYC, And now it's up to the mob to clean up NYC from Islamic communists like the current Mayor Mamdani. Like, the level of stupid is beyond belief. Okay, so you like the mafia. So you guys like the mafia. That's what you're saying. You like the mafia. So why are you elevating a rat? Right? What's the worst thing you can be in the mafia? A rat, right? Franzisi's a rat.
6, he got caught and was sent to prison, but he didn't stay there long. Franzese cut a deal. He would talk and pay a $14 million fine, and the government would set him free.
All right, well, stop me when I'm wrong, okay? He was supposed to pay the government $14 million. He hasn't paid anything near $14 million.
That's right.
There's not a single mafioso behind bars because of anything Michael Franzese told you. Is that correct?
Well, there are people who are in prison based on the information that Michael provided.
But no mafia types.
Yeah, that's not, well, there are. There's at least one. Frank Campione, who was a chauffeur for his father.
A chauffeur and a Chicago agent who wasn't even in the mob. He was also supposed to give the government his Long Island estate, but it's not in his name, and the government has yet to collect.
So there you go. Cheesy, always saying he's not a rat. You heard what the prosecutor said. They went away by his word. So he's a stone cold rat and a stone cold liar.
Okay. So you love the mafia so much, it's one or the other, right? You can amplify a rat or you can love the mob. Franzisi's a rat, but consistency is not their strong suit. Christopher Rufo winning. Mamdani backs down from his anti-Italian hatred and pledges to put Little Italy back on the map. The Italians are not enough of a presence in New York at this point to warrant anybody's hatred. Like, the idea that there'd be some kind of war against Italian, it's just absolutely absurd. So, he gave the baby its pacifier there.
I'm doing well. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Can you please address the controversy that has developed over the city's immigrant enclaves list? Do you believe that there are neighborhoods that were left off that list? And if the city plans to add more, which other neighborhoods do you think should be added?
Yeah. So this map was initially created by the prior administration in 2023. And when we inherited it, we added a few additional neighborhoods. It's clearly not an exhaustive list of the more than 200 ethnic communities that call our city home. And we're going to be making additional changes in the future to reflect that. And that includes adding Little Italy to the map. Oh, Little Italy.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Okay, well, first of all, I hope they're going to create a separate map of historical neighborhoods because they don't belong on an immigrant neighborhood map. Why would you put them on an immigrant map? Are you going to put the Lower East Side on the immigrant map? Like, before you know it, it'll just be a fantasy map of immigrant neighborhoods that haven't existed in 60 years. So hopefully what he means is they're going to create another map. But this map was created by Adams, which just shows you, somebody whose job it is said, sir, I know you're looking for false outrage to gin up this week in order to create anti-Muslim hysteria to support Israel indirectly because everyone hates it. So you can't support it directly. How about this? How about we pretend to be outraged about a map that existed under the prior mayor that we said nothing about because Little Italy isn't included? Brilliant. This is why we pay you a lot of money to come up with these things. Yeah. So the Italian American Civil Rights League, founded by a mobster, they're very proud. Italian American Civil Rights League President Mike Crispy and distinguished league member Big Time Tommy celebrate the historic victory over Zoran Mamdani today on Mulberry Street in the heart of Little Italy. You know the fucked up thing? We were the only Italians on the whole street. It was weird. Stay tuned for a massive victory, right? Well, yeah. And you know who loves people like this trumpeting their Italianness and their authenticity as Italians? Italians, they love that. This was one of my favorite scenes ever in The Sopranos when they go to Italy. None of them speak Italian, so they're able to talk about them in front of their faces. And Paulie doesn't want the authentic Italian food. He asks for macaroni and gravy. And they say to each other, I think he's asking for pasta with tomato sauce. And a guy says, and you thought the Germans were classless pieces of shit. Shout out to Nick D. He sent that to me, saved me the trouble of finding it myself. And hey, it gets worse. Italy issues travel ban on Italian Americans. Nation to deport all U.S. citizens who mention their Italian heritage. They have had it. They have had it. That's not from The Onion. That's a real New York Times article. Tone police, opposition to genocide. Conservative tard-maxing is what people are calling this. Yeah. Jordan Weissman, my thoughts on this. 1, Little Italy is a tourist destination, not an enclave. It was right not to include it. 2, the Greeks in Astoria got robbed. Or I mean, you know, they started calling it Actor-toria. It's definitely not like it was back in the day. There is still a Greek community.
Yeah, they still got a lot of Mediterraneans there with a lot of Greek markets and stuff. Excellent. Excellent. Food in Astoria is out of this world. Unbelievable.
And 3, there should be a Little Dublin in Midtown because of all the fake Irish bars that sometimes have real Irish bartenders. True. But and here you go. Final point. Jews must learn from Italian Americans. Mamdani tried to be cute and exclude them from a map. And within 24 hours, this community relentlessly confronted him and spoke out. They did not shy away, write letters, or philosophize about how to quietly approach this. Oh, is that what you've been doing?
Yeah.
They put the arrogant activist amateur back in his place and got him shaking in his knees. Little Italy is back on the map. This is how it's done, my fellow Jewish New Yorkers. Yeah, no, you guys have been handling this really low key. Not like you've been organizing racist rallies outside of City Hall where people scream things like go back to Uganda about the mayor. Yeah, no. This is largely, I promise you, Zionist inspired. You got the New York Post. Rupert Murdoch is hand in glove with Netanyahu. Of course, you got the Free Press amplifying the signal. And this is what they very often do. They find really stupid people and they get them to amplify a really stupid message. Now, that happens all the time. This is so exceptionally stupid. It boggles the mind. It boggles the mind that you could get enough of these people to pretend that Little Italy is Italian, to go and gin up this false controversy. And at least as of now, it is not back on the map. And like I said, I hope he creates a separate map because they do not belong on an immigrant map by any stretch of the imagination. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, well, I was not surprised at all when I saw the outrage over this. I mean, I didn't realize, I didn't look closely at the map because I don't care. But, you know, this is the exact kind of thing that there would be some sort of like fake outrage about. And I knew people were going to tag us to explain this, especially since you have been a tour guide more recently than I have been. I mean, I haven't led a tour through Little Italy in, 12, 13 years. But I used to do quite a few of them. And so somewhere in the back of my mind is some of that knowledge. I mean, it's a tourist site, and I never honestly thought it was a particularly good tourist site. I always thought if you wanted like good Italian food, there were way better places.
All right, go to Arthur Avenue.
Arthur Avenue, where I lived, Graham Avenue in East Williamsburg has an amazing strip of great bakeries and pork stores and restaurants and stuff all throughout the city. It's New York City. You can get great Italian food everywhere. You know, You don't need to go to Little Italy. Not to say all those places are bad. They're not. I remember it was one time I was doing a tour and it was a hot day. I mean, hot, like 95, just brutal, humid, sweating everywhere. And, you know, they have the like old Italian guys outside the restaurants hawking the
right.
What they got. We got meatball parm in here. We got a chicken parm in here. We got a fried calamari in here. We got a beautiful red wine. After a while, nothing was working. So he just tells, because it's fucking hot as hell, he says, we got water, ice cold water in here. Come on, sit down, get your ice cold water. But that's what it is. It's a sticky, it's nothing horrible about it. Yeah, that's what it is. And when I was there, those were like the last places. Like Aleva Dairy was an amazing cheese shop, and the guy, it was in the family at that point. And then after I left, like Tony Danza became an investor, and actually Tony Danza used to man the counter every once in a while. If you would get lucky, you'd see him.
He hangs up. Well, he grew up in that neighborhood.
Yeah. So he took over that once the guy sold it. So there were a few great spots left there. Parisi Bakery was another fantastic spot. That's like a real deal place. I don't know if that's still there. I heard it closed, but then I heard it's open.
No, I think it's still there.
Maybe it closed for a little while, but that place is fucking off the hook.
I like Prince Street Pizza, which was the old Ray's.
That's more Nolita though than Little Italy. That's
now the real estate agents have rebranded it.
Yeah. Now it's more Nolita. Yeah, it's more like a Soho vibe around that area now. But that's right near the old St. Pat's, so it's historic Little Italy. Yeah. So yeah, there's some good stuff there. But yeah, it's a tourist area now, basically, and not a particularly appealing one, according to the latest evidence presented by Mr. Davila here.
No, I would never send anybody to Little Italy. Oh yeah, you're right. I mean, look, for the historic interest, I might send somebody to what's the first pizzeria? I always forget the freaking name.
Yeah, Lombardi's. Yeah,
Lombardi's. I might send somebody to Lombardi. I mean, the pizza's good and it's of historic interest, things like that. But yeah, no, this was. Look, man, I've seen some stupid fake outrage campaigns. This was one of the dumbest. If we created new category for New Year's Eve, the dumbest fake outrage campaign of the year, you'd be hard pressed to find another number one.
Yes, indeed. It's funny. I mean, I got funny thoughts about all these places. Lombardi's was on one of the food tours that we did, and one of our tour guides, who was great, he was multilingual, was this young kid, sexy European kid, French accent. He knew 5 languages, a wizard tour guide. People loved him. He got killer reviews every time. I was managing a tour company. I was doing a double. We had a big group, so we split up. He shows up to do the Little Italy tour one day. He shows up right before the tour starts, fucking green. I mean, sick as hell. Clearly wasted, hungover from the night before. Like, looking like absolute hell. We're in Lombardi's Pizza. He starts getting nauseous while the crowd is waiting outside to bring the pizza out, because there's that park next door where you sit on benches and stuff.
Right.
And he is really struggling. He's waiting online for the bathroom, but it's like a single seater there. This waitress puts down a pitcher, an empty pitcher that she just bust from one of the tables. He grabs and pukes in it. He grabs the pitcher and just throws up in this empty pitcher because he could not wait another second. But he hid it from the customers like he was a wizard, man. The customers never knew anything. They never knew anything. That kid was a stud of a tour guide. But he's a young guy, like 23, 24, so he didn't care. Friday nights, he's going out. He don't give a fuck. He'll figure out the tour the next day. Yeah, grabs this pitcher just right in the nick of time and just Ralph's in it. Good kid, that kid. All right, you want to take some super chats and rumble rants?
All right.
Why don't we put our scroll up, Jake? You want to put the scroll up now while we're doing this, because we got some chats and rants to get through. These are the These are the backbone of the show. Our supporters, those are the links. Sign up for $5 a month if you can. It helps us out tremendously. All kinds of perks for signing up. Film Club with Right Brain TV, monthly bonus segments and Q&As, and call-in access to our Q&A every Sunday night. Tonight is Sunday. We'll be going to Q&A after the main show this evening. So sign up, dudissidents.com/Patreon, Substack, or Locals.
Active Guardian, Lindsey Graham, new unalive status. I haven't felt this good since Dark Lord Cheney was delivered into his father Satan's hands. We stand for you.
Yeah, that's right.
Eric Rousseau, can they ever replace the warmongering buddy couple of Lindsey Graham and John McCain? I bet they can.
They got a new crop every year.
Anthony Leventon, thank you for your fine work, gentlemen. Really good shoe. Thank you. Young Liberty, want your opinion. Did Miss Lindsay get turned on more by a Patriot missile or a Patriot missile.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That would be a tough call, I think. Face
Maybe he was
pollution.
attracted to the phallic imagery of war. You know,
Oh, I mean, Freud thought we all were.
Yep.
Face
I mean,
pollution.
especially him.
Especially that one. Lindsey rolled up his sleeves and really did a number on me. Called him Iron Grip. Comrade Cranky. Anyone who supports genocide is my enemy. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Scooby. Lindsey dies and people carry their resentment with them long after he's dead. I'm sure he would have liked that. He probably would have. It's probably kind of his kink. Citizen Charles, I'm reminded how Mitch was court-martialed out of the service for sodomy. Funny how these two are representatives of society's current most sanctified minority. Curse of the closet. Mitch McConnell?
He was? I didn't. I never heard that.
I never heard that. That can't be true. We would have come across it. Somebody look that up. Jake, look that up. Was Mitch a sodomite? Ken Minji. I love this show. Not only do I speak ill of dead people who are evil, I actively wish that some die of natural causes like Bill Maher and Scott Galloway. I mean, I'm not shy about that either, man. You know, I find it hypocritical, you know, like if that's what you think, that's what you think. Dark Matter Zombies for 100.
Landrew's back. What's up, Landrew?
What's up, man? I'm with Russell on that fuck Lindsey Warmonger Graham. Free Palestine, by the way. Thank you, SPXC. XPXC.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on Lindsey Graham, too. I told you.
Yeah, he's with me.
Yeah.
We're together on this.
We're
CB Punk. Would we be poetic justice if Lindsey was killed by Russian bomb and McConnell is as dead as fried chicken? Let's keep this train a-rolling. Coming threes, right? Revenge is a dish. Best served call.
Well, McConnell is not he's up and at it. He's up and at it.
Keaton just disagrees about wishing death on the neighbor who played their stereo too loud.
Yeah, exactly.
He just disagrees about that. Good. I'm glad they're dead. I won't have to listen to that terrible trance music anymore. Don Sebastian Demora. Any thoughts on Russia taking out the ladybug? I heard he was at a Ukrainian drone factory when Putin did the deed.
Yeah, we addressed that.
Seems unlikely.
Seems unlikely. I don't wish it on people because I'm superstitious. I'm afraid people will wish it on me, you know, and it'll happen.
Well, that's why people don't do it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you put a hex on someone, they can put a hex on you. You know, mutually assured destruction, right? But I'm talking about after the fact. After the fact, I tend to only gloat if it was people who actually wielded real power against other people, which obviously Graham did.
I mean, you're really discriminating against practitioners of voodoo there, Keaton.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Master Yoda, Lindsey Graham beat Mitch McConnell to death. Andy Gardner, Lindsey just eloped with Mitch.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Siddhartha Vicious, someone fetched Lindsey's fainting coffin. Marvin Vargas, APAC saves new Lady G replacement, LG handler fired.
I don't know.
JM Barbarossa, Cajanes JDL collaborated with Colombo's Italian American Civil Rights League. Is that true? Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, and I had not heard that.
Der Zoblin, 2009. CB Punk, Colombo and the Italian American League almost stopped The Godfather from getting filmed. Paramount's Ruddy had to schmooze him and make concessions to keep him screwing from unions and intimidations. Yeah, because they had control over the scenery builders, the teamsters who had to move the equipment. So yeah, they used to be able to leverage a lot of power on Hollywood. That's why you didn't really see a lot of movies that represented the mafia. That was the reason behind it. And when they represented crime, they used groups that really were not dominant in crime by the time they were making those movies, like very Irish James Cagney.
Right.
Right? Why would you have James? By that time, the Irish were no longer a major factor in organized crime. The Italians had completely taken over because the Italians controlled the unions. They had the control to make sure they didn't represent Italians that way. On to not. That's me. Grandfather arrived from Italy 120 years ago. I'm not the immigrant. I'm sure the real Italians don't even want us anymore. Maron. Yeah, man. Like, come on, man. You know, it's the same with the Irish, man. The Irish call the Irish Americans plastic patties. Like, the Italians don't look at the Italian. They're embarrassed by them. I am the owl. Imagine lickety Lindsey's elation that along with the Israeli and Ukrainian Nazis, he also gets to be with classic German Nazis. Keep the water warm for Blinken, Biden, Rubio, Trump, and others on the way. Yeah. Looking forward to that. All right. You want to move on?
All right, let's move on. I think we got a very, very special edition of this tonight. We're at 9:50 in the light column. Look at that. You get the in costume 666 for this special day here.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
2663 in the chat. Big chat here tonight.
25.
Big crowd tonight. Big crowd tonight. All right.
Very big show. Very big show.
Very big show. Jake says no evidence of sodomy. Oh,
thank you,
there's
Jake.
actually a Snopes article of that. Okay, so that's a common enough rumor that there is a fact check on that. And our fact checkers here, our decision desk says no, he was not sodomized in the military. That is breaking news that we are happy to bring you here. Mitch McConnell, not sodomized in the military. Thank you, Jake.
We report, you decide.
We report, you decide. Should be trending on Twitter. Mitch McConnell, not gay.
Well, he tried to stick it in, but I stopped him.
All right, we'll move right on along here. All right, folks. Presidential contender to be Ro Khanna blocked by Israeli settlers in the West Bank. Representative Ro Khanna was barred from leaving for 90 minutes, where past U.S. leaders toured the region to show support for Israel. Today's Democratic presidential aspirants are going to bolster their credentials as critics. On Wednesday afternoon, Mr. Khanna, the congressman from Silicon Valley who is exploring a 2028 presidential run, was visiting the ruins of Khirbet Zenuda, a tiny Palestinian Bedouin village in the southern West Bank that was abandoned after escalating attacks from settlers and then demolished. And that links to a piece from 2024, The Unpunished, How Extremists Took Over Israel. This was the New York Times piece about settler attacks in this very same community back in 2024. But, of course, attacks in this particular community predate October 7th, as so much of this conflict obviously does. So here's some footage back from 2022. Colonial Israeli settlers protected by the occupation forces attack Palestinian shepherds in Khirbet Zenuda, south of Hebron. There's the IDF there, right? Or is that just this? I can't tell. It looks like he's military. Yeah, so this has been going on, obviously, for very long, with our support, for very long. Suddenly, a car of men holding guns pulled up and blocked the narrow road out of the village. The men began taunting the congressman and his team, swearing at them in Hebrew and Arabic, and kicking the tires of their minibus, according to accounts, photographs, and video footage from Mr. Khanna, an aide, and his security guard. A photographer for the New York Times, traveling in a different vehicle, also saw the interaction. Soon, a jeep with more men arrived. So this is a photograph and an image shared by Mr. Khanna's team. Vehicles were stopped outside Kirbet Zenuta. Mr. Khanna said the experience was the most frightening part of his trip to the West Bank. And here is a very, very brief video. It's a little surprising they didn't get more video. Who knows? Maybe they were scared, so they turned the camera off. But they shared a very, very brief clip of footage before the meat of the interaction, I suppose. Like, that's it. I guess maybe they were spooked, so they turned it off. But that seemed to be all the video that they had. And as you can see, blocking of the road there, just these little dirt roads, these largely undeveloped plots of land that the Israelis are intent on making their own and creating a Western paradise with, Popeye's chicken and all that. So Ro Khanna tweets out, Israeli settlers brandishing American-made M4s detained me and other Americans on my trip to Palestine. When the IDF arrived, they sided with the settlers and continued our detention. They made a huge mistake. You will be hearing more soon. So Todd Richman replies to this. On one hand, we all know how excited Roe was that this happened, so he could put a notch on his belt and show the world and Democratic prime voters his bravery standing up against evil Israel. On the other hand, how stupid could these Israelis be to do this? And any West Bank, Judea, Samaria radical Israeli that commits a crime must be held accountable. So I don't know if you could tell here, his on one hand, on the other. This is not a MAGA guy. This is not a conservative activist. This is the co-founder and former co-chair of Democratic Majority for Israel, DMFI, advocating truth on Israel, fighting disinformation, pro-Israel Democrat. Love America. So that's, Ro Khanna's supposed ally there in the Democratic Party saying, yeah, no, we all know you're really glad that, you almost got shot by crazed inbred freak settlers and that the IDF, when they arrived, didn't help you but took their side. Yeah, that's exactly the experience you were looking for, I'm sure. When two cars from the Israeli military pulled up, Mr. Khanna assumed the soldiers were there to help him pass. Oh, did he? Instead, the soldiers smoked cigarettes, chatted with the men, and after the settlers left, moved a car to block the road, he recounted. I felt powerless in that situation, which is not an easy thing, as I have a lot of privilege in life, said Mr. Khanna, who was eventually allowed to continue his journey after calls to the U.S. Embassy and Israeli police. Imagine how people feel every day, Palestinians under the occupation, if they could make an American congressperson feel powerless for 90 minutes. So here is a video report here. U.S. Congressman Ro Khanna detained by Israeli settlers during his visit to the West Bank. He gives an interview here along with some other reporting.
American politician has been detained by the IDF and Israeli settlers.
That's U.S. Democratic lawmaker Ro Khanna during a visit to the West Bank this week. He was there, he said, to get an unfiltered look at the human toll of Israeli occupation as he weighs a 2028 presidential run.
We were at a village that Israeli settlers had destroyed. They had destroyed the school. They had destroyed that village, and we were just looking at it. And these hoodlums come in with machine guns, an M4, an American-made machine gun, and they detain us. They block off the road. And then they call the IDF, and the IDF is on their side, not on the side of the Americans.
An aide who was with Khanna said they were held for more than an hour and made appeals to the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem for help. A group of officers who appeared to be police eventually intervened, he said, leading to their release.
I saw the arrogance in the eyes of those settlers, 21 and 22-year-olds with guns, laughing that they had detained us. The arrogance of those young IDF soldiers that my tax dollars are funding, having no respect for the fact that they were detaining Americans.
The Israeli military said troops and police officers intervened after receiving a report of settlers blocking vehicles near Kirbet Zenuta. It's a small Palestinian hamlet whose residents were forcibly displaced by violent settler raids following the 2023 Hamas attacks on Israel. Israel's police did not immediately respond to a request for comment, nor did the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem. Khanna, a progressive lawmaker from California in the U.S. House of Representatives, said his West Bank visit had increased his resolve to consider bidding for the White House. That's while Israel's conduct towards Palestinians has emerged as a flashpoint in democratic politics.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely running. There's no question about that. Tucker Carlson weighs in here because Ambassador Mike Huckabee had nothing at all to say about this. I checked his feed. Had absolutely no comment on a congressperson, an American congressperson, being terrorized by settlers. He rather tweets out, "Was a pleasure to be with whatever Fox News idiot he was on with, blah, blah, blah." So Tucker tweets out, "An American member of Congress is threatened by foreign terrorists carrying American rifles backed by a foreign military paid for by American taxpayers. And the U.S. ambassador to that country says not a word in defense of his own countrymen and instead uses his social media accounts to promote his own vapid cable news appearances, which amount to propaganda for that same foreign country. It's too much, too insulting and humiliating to America. This is how revolutions start. For the sake of our nation, Mike Huckabee should be removed from his post immediately." Yeah, I would not hold your breath for that, Tucker.
No.
Mr. Khanna's trip was organized by Cameron Kasky, a Parkland school shooting survivor who ran for Congress with a platform of opposing what he called Israel's genocide in Gaza. Mr. Kasky, 25, withdrew from the race to work with Mr. Khanna on combating settler violence in the West Bank. He now works for Mr. Khanna on digital strategy, and he responded first to the IDF's statement here. The Israeli military said troops and police officers intervened after receiving a report of settlers blocking vehicles near Kirbet Zenuta. Upon their arrival, the troops dispersed the Israeli civilians and allowed the vehicles to continue on their way. That is a quote from the Israeli military. And Cameron refutes that. He says the Israeli military is obviously lying about the role the IDF played in Congressman Ro Khanna and my detainment by armed extremist settlers. The IDF showed up and started goofing off and smoking cigarettes with the extremist group. Ro Khanna gives some more details here. He was on Meet the Press this morning.
3-day trip to the West Bank this week. You say you were held by Israeli settlers with rifles. We do have some still footage that was captured by your team of the incident. We should say in a statement, the Israeli Defense Forces, or the IDF, released a statement saying IDF troops were dispatched to the scene, quickly dispersed the Israeli civilians, and reopened the blocked road. The IDF soldiers operating in the area did not take part in blocking the road. Walk us through what you experienced.
The IDF is lying. What happened was unprecedented. They had violent settlers detain American citizens, including an American government official. You had these settlers brandishing M4s, kicking the tires of our van, laughing at us, mocking at us, videotaping us. We were detained for about 20 minutes, fearful of our lives. Then the IDF comes, 4 soldiers. They tell our translator that they're on the side of the settlers. They further detain us and block us in. We had to call the American embassy. Fortunately, David Brownstein helped, and he got to someone in Israel. And 75 minutes after the detention by the IDF soldiers and by these settlers, we were let through. Now, I heard the prime minister, and he says that Israel is a country of law and order. Well, let me be very specific. The prime minister needs to open an investigation on these violent settlers who are connected to Yanon Levy, who has destroyed Zenuta's village and is a known person who has killed Palestinians, and these settlers were connected to him. They need to be prosecuted, including Yanon Levy. Their outpost needs to be investigated, and he needs to have an investigation on these 4 IDF officers. Security cameras can see that they were involved in the detention of American citizens. How dare they mistreat people with an American passport that way?
Well, we appreciate your weighing in on that.
Now, when he refers to Netanyahu's statement, we're going to see some of Netanyahu's interview, because Netanyahu was also interviewed on Meet the Press this morning. But before we get to that, some more corroboration. I was there with Representative Ro Khanna here, says Nadav Wyman, as an expert on settler violence. Armed settlers were the first to arrive, and then, as has become the norm, Israeli soldiers joined them. Together, they detained the delegation for over an hour. the IDF is lying, and not for the first time. Yeah, what's the difference between an IDF soldier and one of these settlers? It's often a couple years in age. A lot of these settlers are like teenagers, you know. But where does the IDF come from? They come from Israeli society. So, of course, they're going to take the side of the settlers. That's not a surprise at all. And we've seen this happen over and over again in videos on social media. If you watch No Other Land, an amazing documentary, the Oscar winner from a couple years ago, they show scene after scene after scene of settlers arriving, you know, tormenting people. Sometimes the IDF just rolls up all on their own with a bulldozer. All right, you got to leave. This house is ours now. Knock it down.
Right.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it. There's very little practical distinction between these crazed settlers and the IDF soldiers. But Khanna mentioned Netanyahu here. So here was Netanyahu's take on this incident on that same program, Meet the Press.
We want to give you the opportunity, if you would like, to respond to Congressman Ro Khanna. He is going to be on this broadcast. He says he visited the West Bank. He was blocked by settlers wielding guns. He says the IDF did not help defuse this situation. Do you have any comment on that this morning, Mr. Prime Minister?
Yeah, we're a country of laws, and people who break the law, we take them to court. In the West Bank, in Judea and Samaria, we've had thousands of attempted attacks and warnings against terrorist activities, against innocent Israelis, families, mother with their children driving along the road. They're stopped by terrorists.
I'm sorry. Hold on. I have to stop. When?
Wow.
When? I mean, I like, that's an honest question. When? Because you know there's no shortage of Zionist influencers on X whose material is boosted algorithmically for all to see. I mean, I don't even follow any of these maniacs, but I still see their stuff all the time. I have not seen, literally, this is not bullshit. I have not seen a single video of what you're talking about, of Palestinian villagers attacking Israeli settlers. I've not seen a single video of that in all of these years that we've been talking about this. You're telling me it's a more common occurrence that the Palestinians attack the Israelis than the other way around? Yet we've seen absolutely not, I mean, literally not one instance of this on X, ever. And you know how many Zionist accounts are boosted, and you know for a fact that would be everywhere if it happened. So where is it? Where is the evidence of that?
My Facebook is overrun by attempts to make Israel look adorable. Okay, 6 rules for Tel Aviv. And I always say, look out, there's a dog behind you.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
They kill them, and this has happened again and again and again.
When?
There is a vigilante effort, not by the settler community. They're 99.9%. Law-abiding citizens.
Work, that's why they were sanctioned
and so on. There are 150 juvenile delinquents that are not part of that community. They come from the other parts of Israel. We are. I don't want vigilantes of any kind, and we are working to put them under the law. But I think if we put things in perspective, we should see that we have thousands of attacks and some few, but obvious. Breaking of the law, then we apply the full measure of the law against them. Israel, unlike our neighbors, is a democracy and a country of law, and we act against those who break the law.
Again,
this is literally a country that had a video of prison guards raping a prisoner who faced no consequences and actually became folk heroes in Israel.
Yeah, of course. Of course. But this is just what absolute brazen liars they are. Again, I have to repeat, the amount of Zionist influencers who are artificially and algorithmically boosted on X. In the last 3 years, I have literally not seen one example of what he's talking about, where a Palestinian villager in the West Bank attacks an Israeli settler. I've not seen a single instance of that.
Nope.
And you know it would be everywhere if it happened.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Cameron Kasky tweets out, meanwhile, in pro-Israel world, we've got Corey Writing calling the United States Congressman Ro Khanna an agitator. unlike Clavicular, the looks-maxing douchebag, who has danced on live stream with neo-Nazi Nick Fuentes to Kanye West singing Heil Hitler. Ban agitators like Ro Khanna and Cam Kasky from Israel. Invite more people like Clavicular into Israel. This is not hard. Gen X Girl put together a nice little montage of some of the unhinged Zionist reactions to this Ro Khanna incident. Kermudge the Rugged says, can they maybe detain him there indefinitely? I'm a dreamer. Do I ever criticize Israel? Yes, let me do it right now. Why would you let Ro Khanna into the country? Can they maybe detain him indefinitely? AZ Morlock, just drop him off in Gaza. He should love that. Yeti and Yeti says they should not let him leave. They could do America a huge favor and detain him permanently. Terry Muller says, Mossad, you dropped the ball. IDF, you dropped the ball. Netanyahu, you dropped the ball. Why was he allowed in? What the fuck? Dickie De Niro, I criticized Netanyahu for not going hard enough after 10-7. He should have nuked those motherfuckers the same day. These are emotionally healthy people here. Archangel Muriel, yeah, this was a stupid move by Israel. I would put all Democrat socialists on the no entry list. Casual Discerner, unfortunately, this parasite managed to slither himself into the Congress, and that entitles him to certain deference from allied countries. Israel couldn't really deny him entry. Personally, I'm happy he got shook. He is a globalist operative and a scumbag. Real nice. Well, here's Ro Khanna. Thankfully, did return, obviously, as we know. Here he is posting an update upon his return from the West Bank.
And I just wanted to thank everyone who reached out. Honestly, it's still quite raw, and I'm still processing things, replaying the images of the armed settlers who detained us and the 4 IDF soldiers who helped them blockade our van. It was quite scary. But, you know, I also have just been thinking about all the Palestinians I met and their stories. They don't have the platform I do. And I was just so emotionally moved as a human being, not as a politician, just as a person hearing those stories. There was a father who broke down in tears talking about how his 14-year-old son, an American citizen, was killed by the IDF. And he talked about how he hasn't changed his son's room because of the grief he feels. I met Palestinian families who did not have enough water to flush the toilet or to wash their clothes, while Israeli settlers had 4 times the water. I talked to a school principal who described the scene of a school shooting, something we're familiar with here in the United States. And he said that even as one of his students was killed, he does not know if there has been any investigation into the school shooter. The police, the IDF have never talked to him. He has had no justice. I talked to street owners and shop owners in Hebron who said that settlers from the top would urinate down on them, would throw acid at them, would throw rotten vegetables at them. I saw checkpoints where you had 2 different license plates. One license plate if you were an Israeli settler, another license plate if you were Palestinian. And I talked to a Palestinian man, Palestinian American, who was at that checkpoint a couple days ago, and he was beaten because he did not speak Hebrew. And he said, well, he's been away from Palestine for years, and he didn't speak Hebrew, and the guards beat him and took his money. You know, it doesn't really matter what your ideology is. What is happening in the West Bank is just inhumane. No human being would tolerate it. That's what I want to try to get across. It's like the Jim Crow South. We need to stand up for human dignity. We need to tell the stories of what's happening to Palestinians and Palestinian Americans in the West Bank. It's just wrong. And I intend to try to give them a voice and try to tell those stories in the days and weeks ahead.
All right. Finally, Mr. Khanna described the visit as an uncurated Palestinian-led glimpse into the West Bank and is one he believes more members of Congress and potential presidential candidates should experience. He also left with some parting words for the Israeli government, free advice to the Israelis. It's not a good idea to detain long-shot presidential candidates, he said. Not how you're going to build goodwill with the next American president, whoever that is. So pretty explicitly teasing a presidential run. We're going to start getting announcements of candidacies right after the midterms, I would think. Yeah, go ahead.
Don't even say it.
Yeah. We're going to start getting those announcement rollouts coming in a number of months. Right after the midterms is when you start to see the first few people throw their hat in the ring. You could clearly see from his posture there
I'm with
and
giggles.
his quote at the end, that he is looking to throw his hat in. And look, man, I give him props for doing this. If nothing else, it kind of lays a bar at where anyone in the progressive lane is going to have to be if they want to run. Now, obviously, we just saw yet again, a progressive runs away with the primary, and they get kneecapped with a week to go before the election is certified. So, I just can't. And if we ever put the interview together with him, which I would love to, one of the things that you're going to be dealing with as one of these types of candidates is the fact that the Democrats just always find a way to deny that progressive base of the party their will. But without making this a segment about that, because the segment is really not about that, good on him for going there. I think, one of the things he said and one of the quotes I read is that, if Americans knew what the reality was in the West Bank, very few people would actually support it. I think he said no one would. No, some would. Some would. This country hasn't come that far, but a vast majority wouldn't, because it is
a few in Little Italy.
Yeah, Little Italy would support it. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, a vast majority would not, because it is apartheid, it is Jim Crow, and the more people see that, the more people will realize that they have a moral obligation to stand in opposition to it. And so, good on him for doing it. I think it does set a certain bar that a lot of candidates are going to have to meet going forward here. It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out, because Israel has become completely toxic within the Democratic Party. I think that's obvious. How do the politicians deal with that? How does the donor class deal with that? How do the party apparatchiks deal with that? These are all unknown, but it's going to be very interesting to see how that all shakes out, because they have a real problem on their hands. They have a huge problem on their hands, which is the party infrastructure is still built around support for Israel. But now you have this definite contender for the nomination go out with a statement like this. And, I don't think that the trolls were correct in that he hoped it would turn out this way. But he's right, man. Like, the fact that it did turn out this way, like, you can't just let a congressman go on a journalistic trip. You got to fucking harass him and block the road and get the IDF there to laugh at him and smoke cigarettes. It's just, they really act as if the tide is not turning, but it is.
Yeah, well, they've gotten a lot worse. Like, as the world turns against them, what are they going to do? They're going to double down, triple down, quadruple down. The mask's off now, right? They're not even going to pretend to not be a monstrous ethno-supremacist cult. They're just leaning into it at this point and saying, "What are you going to do about it?" This reminded me of Jonestown. This is what happened. They detained a congressman and they killed him in Jonestown. That was the final blaze of Kool-Aid, so to speak. They knew there was no coming back from that. And that was when they did the mass suicide. Hey, it's happened. Even if you're Ro Khanna, man, you got to be thinking, and I'm sure he was, like, you never know. You never know. Like, if they would go this far, who knows? All it takes is one of these inbred children of the corned beef motherfuckers to go off. And I'm dead. And it is very much like Jonestown, and that it's a cult. It's a cult of crackpots out there in the desert that have gone completely insane with impunity, with power, with bloodlust, with a supremacist ideology. It's only going to get worse. And when you look at this, when you look at these stories, they sound like Nazis. They sound exactly like Nazis. The sadism, the just taking pleasure in exercising arbitrary power and authority over others. In terms of Khanna's possible presidential run, which you kind of track those things more closely than I do. So if you say he's making the moves to run, okay.
Oh, he's definitely running.
I believe
There's no
you.
doubt in my mind that he's running.
Hey, he'll be very formidable relative to the field as it looks like it's going to shape up. You probably have creepy McKinsey freak Buttigieg. Nobody's going for that. You got Giggles. Hey, if anyone from the Kamala campaign is watching, I'm with Giggles TM. Okay,
Yeah.
you're going to have to pay me for that. I'm with Giggles, but that would make a great sign for her.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You got that. You got sleazebag Gavin Newsom. I find it interesting. Interesting. Yeah, none of these people actually, I believe, and there's the thing with the Democrats, they like a rigged game. In a not rigged contest, yeah. I think you got Khanna, who has the stature to run. He has the national profile to run. He runs on an anti-Israel thing. He'd be unbeatable against those three. You don't know
He's
who
also
else
got
is,
this
is going to
economic
get in.
patriotism thing, which he calls, patriotic capital. He doesn't brand himself a socialist, which gives him broader
Right.
appeal than the
Sure.
DSA people.
Sure.
He's from Silicon Valley, right? He's not. There's no way you're going to tarnish the Silicon Valley congressman as a communist. I mean, it's just that I think that's too absurd, even in this country, to fly. So yeah, no, he has certain things going for him. He's gonna have certain things going against him, which, let's be honest, man, like this country still, and you used to sound like a fucking libtard to say this, but I think what's been proven in the past few years is that it's still very much a fucking racist country, and that is gonna be a barrier that he's gonna have to overcome.
Sure.
Like it
Sure.
just is, especially with this Indian shit. I mean, you see the MAGA
Get
people
this
are all
cheap motherfucker out
right,
here.
exactly. There's going to be a lot of that shit. There's a lot of that shit. There's a lot of that shit even now. Even now, you got these people, and I know, and we will get into this in the next segment, actually, but, the town of Newburgh where I grew up is now likely to get the ICE facility that Chester rejected. Now, the town is suing to block it. We'll see. But, I know because I have friends who live in the town of Newburgh. You still got these fucking yahoos. I'll let them build one in my backyard. And you still have a ton. Like, at this point, you don't see what this is all about. At this point, if you're for this, it's because you like seeing brown people harassed. Like, that's and there's still a lot of that in this country. So he will have obstacles, but he has, I think, a credibility and a cross-partisan appeal that a lot of the more sort of, I don't want to call them hardline leftists because none such exist in the Democratic Party, but like the squad types don't. And I think his partnering with Thomas Massie on the Epstein stuff gave him some credibility with at least some of the non-rabid racist MAGA people. You know what I mean? Like, him wrapping his arms around Marjorie Taylor Greene, like he's done himself certain favors that are going to make him, I think, more palatable to most people than most Democrats. Obviously, there's going to be obstacles in his path. This is going to be an obstacle in his path, not because the voters are against it, but because the same people who concocted the Graham Plattner hit job are against it, and there's more where that came from in terms of dirty tricks. And so that's, these are things that, we're going to have to see how it all plays out. Obviously, it's impossible to predict this far out. But he's definitely running. I would bet everything I own he's running.
Yeah, this I've thought about this a lot because of the whole Plattner thing. To me, I think that's the logic behind it. You withhold your vote from people in order to get concessions. I think a lot of the confusion right now is there have never been any concessions.
Right,
Like it's never come up.
Right.
Like,
right,
well,
right.
what do you do if a candidate is expressly running on denouncing apartheid Israel, right? And I think it's very confusing for people what to do about that. For me personally, the voting part is a no-brainer. Like, if you're speaking out against the genocide, you're running against a candidate who isn't, and you're in my town, yeah. I'll vote for you. Getting involved in campaigns, I don't know what I would do if I didn't know that the Democrats rigged their primaries in a case like that.
Right.
Like, would I try to help? I don't know. It's not even on the table because look what just happened with Plattner.
Right.
That's why I won't get involved in a campaign.
Right.
So if you get Khanna running, I wouldn't get involved. I'd be rooting for him. He's about the best you're gonna produce at this moment in this country. So we'll see. But in the Democratic Party, they're very tricky.
Yeah.
To quote the late great Charles Manson, everything's very sneaky here in Sneaky Town.
Yeah, exactly. Right. No, you spend a year of your life busting your balls, and then Barack Obama makes a phone call, and all your time down the drain.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
All right. Let's move right on along here. New Haven Beats is way better than New York pizzas over on Mamdani. Ha, good one. New Haven's got pretty good pizza. I mean, I don't think it's better than New York.
That's what they say. I haven't had it, so I can't say.
It's quite good. It's quite good. My mother-in-law lived in New Haven for a little while, and so I went to just like the place downstairs from her apartment. Like it wasn't even one of the famous ones. Like it wasn't Frank Pepe or what is it? Sally's Beats. What's the famous one there? I forget. It's just a regular pizza joint, but yeah, it is quite good. It is quite good. They do a good pie over there. Free shit coming late here. Had to strip down and oil up. Holy ball, that fucker Mitch McConnell died. Oh wait, the other one. Ha, good one. The Rotten Flesh. When you realize John Wick was a shadow documentary. Thank you for that, Rotten Flesh. America's Last Open Secret, dead at 71. Thank you. Martin Vargas, thanks for the 199. What about J-Mob? Get pass, focus on Guinea Zai O'Toole. Yeah. There were, obviously Meyer Lansky, and Lucky Luciano. There's plenty of history to go around. Race car, that would suck to be Lindsey's soul in the afterlife. I don't think the devil in hell would even take him. First, the gay race communists came at billionaires, and I was silent. Then they came at the Italians, and I was silent. When they came for us closeted gay MAGA chuds, no one was left to speak for us. Thank you.
Oh, you know what, man? We forgot Landry's sound drop.
Oh, yeah. No, let's grab that.
I'll get it.
Free shit says, my dad had a vet friend who believed General Westmoreland was right when she said the Vietnamese don't love their children as much as Americans love theirs. Interesting, free shit. Thank you for that. Shady Deals, I thought Jews ran Hollywood. Was it the Italians all this time? Let's see. It's so annoying that the Southern Belle couldn't even be patriotic to have dropped dead last week. I know, on the 4th, right?
Landrew is dead.
There you go, Landrew. Worskill, thanks for the $5. Kami Mamdani failed to acknowledge us Mayflower sailing English immigrants. Typical. Good one. Durzo Blint, thanks for the 99-cent super sticker. J.M. Barbosa, Khanna in Colombo held press conference May 13th, 1971. Oh, okay. Yeah, I did not know that. Will Roe still be against any form of resistance, says Chris Allegra. Roe versus Ways. Good one. Siddhartha Vicious, the difference between the IDF and the settlers is billions of U.S. taxpayer dollars. Yeah, well, that's one. A lifetime of blood-soaked war profiteering and its deep-fried southern food that finally saved humanity. Some say cocaine. It could also be brought on by, cocaine, I hear. Enjoyed every minute of you guys all week on the JD and DD shows. Oh, thank you, T-Bone. Thanks for never forgetting about Palestine. If you're still looking for guests on the JD show, please ask Miko Peled or the Mondo Ways Bros. Russ, hey, who you got on Wednesday, by the way?
Okay, provided that he's not under 70 feet of steel bunker, Morandi and Katie.
Okay, there you go. So that's
my lineup this week. Yeah,
that is a big lineup. That's a big lineup. Max Swaggy says IDF shot at delegates, then Bondi shooting happened. French Laundry, Clavicular, or Bondi Beach. Clavicular just went to Israel, got honeypotted. Yeah, well.
Yeah.
Also, Peter Thiel spent millions of dollars to create and prop up Clavicular. Is that how you say his name? I don't even know how you say that kid's name. Clavicular. I guess that is. I guess it sounds like it's spelled, right? Well, that would make sense. All right.
I mean, the praying mantis did a video about her thoughts about Clavicular being in Israel. Yeah, I didn't watch it.
There you go. All right. We're going to move right on along here to our next segment. I just got to step out for 1 second. You could start it without me, though. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. So there's an interview with the CEO of Flock, really endearing himself to the public. But you can see here the way that as they build the surveillance state, they're going to try to justify it by labeling their opponents terrorists.
Organizations like the ACLU and the EFF who take an above-board approach to fight for their point of view. And thankfully, we live in a beautifully democratic, capitalistic country where we can fight in court. And I have a lot of respect for those groups because they have reasonable debates and we follow the law. And then unfortunately, there's terroristic organizations like DFLOC, whose primary motivation is chaos. They are closer to Antifa than they are anything else. And that, I think, is unfortunate because we don't want chaos, or I don't want chaos. I like law and order. I like a society that has a bedrock of safety. So for those groups, I think it's just disappointing that they haven't chosen a more constructive mannerism to try to get what they want, which they have a right to have, but that's why we have a democratically elected process, right? Like we're not forcing Flock on anyone. Elected officials know that as a community, you want to be safe.
All right. What he said here is very interesting and very revealing on a lot of levels. He knows we do not have a democratic process worthy of the name. This is, the casino is rigged, and you're saying, hey, everybody has a fair shot in this casino, but you can't take matters into your own hands. He knows very well that they have a rigged game. And the audience that he's talking to with that kind of language, they're more like Antifa. He's made a calculation that the group that is most likely regarded enough to buy into this language, if he pushes the right buttons, is MAGA. That's the group, if he says key phrases like law and order and Antifa, that he'll be able to rally these people to get behind Flock. Now, I don't think he's right about that. I think it is too contradictory to the core premise of that group. Trump would have to get involved. Just like they looked the other way on Epstein. Yeah, I guess if Trump got involved, maybe you'd have some of them would, but they're not going to buy this.
Yeah, and that video was from like 8 months ago. So apparently Trump had not gotten involved up till this point because, yeah, I mean, this is a right wing thing. Like the opposition to this kind of surveillance.
You're not gonna sell the right wing on seeing mass surveillance. As giving it to Antifa.
Right.
But that's what he's trying to do. And he mentioned DFLOC as being like Antifa. DFLOC, he got community noted on this. DFLOC is an open source project mapping license plate readers to highlight privacy risks from surveillance technology, not a terrorist organization. So you got this guy's trying to say, hey, it's a democracy, people have their rights, and then he's trying to tell you that this group that is exercising their democratic rights are terrorists. So you want to see the scary terrorists behind DFLOC? Here you go.
In Boulder, Colorado, inside a small coffee shop.
The brighter areas are where the really high density of flock cameras are.
Will Freeman runs the largest police camera tracking system in the nation.
If you click on any of these police departments, it'll show you who they're sharing with. So the lines going outward are the agencies that can access their data directly.
It's called DFlock. The app shows where the cameras are and which way they're pointed.
How many cameras have you mapped?
88,970 cameras at the moment.
Why did you want to do this?
The main reason is to show people how invasive this is.
Right, so
Flock
not so they
license
can
plate
destroy
readers
them.
take a time-stamped photo of every vehicle that passes every camera. Police can search your historical travel information for 30 days.
This creates a searchable...
Yeah, that kid looked like a real rough character there. Yeah, it looked like quite a radical Antifa. I could really see him throwing a garbage can through a window, that kid.
Well, this is like
Database of
sorry, I'll do it. Never mind. I don't want to
not just the suspects of crime. Security researcher Ben Jordan.
And it's like if you were to build a graph of that sheet, and plot it to a map, now it's as if you've had a GPS on your car for an entire month.
By your own publications, 700,000 crimes a year are solved with Flock? Flock Safety Chief Communications Officer Josh Thomas.
Reported crimes in America, yeah. So there's a lot more that probably are being helped that aren't being reported. But yes, we have about 700,000 crimes that we are aware of that are being solved in part with evidence that's derived from a Flock Safety device.
In order for that historical data to be of investigative value, you have to track every car for 30 days.
Again, I would challenge you on the word track. Tracking the whole of your movements is very different than knowing that you passed by one specific camera, 24 specific cameras. Those are different things.
And then the examples of tracking that vehicle from location to location to location.
But Flock's own webinars talk about its license plate reader's ability to track vehicles and people.
And we were able to track him all the way over to another state in Kentucky.
And you're able to track your suspect's movements.
You're saying Flock does not track people, correct?
Track people, that's right. And the whole their movements like you asked. We're not tracking people.
But what do the Condor cameras do? They literally are designed to track a person, aren't they?
Not to track a person, no.
This is a Flock camera known as a Condor. Unlike the Falcon license plate reader camera, you'll notice this does track the movements of people. Whether or not it was designed to specifically track a person, you can see right now, in real time, no matter which way I move, the camera moves with me.
Okay. All right. So they know that historically, the level of wealth inequality in the United States literally has never been seen in history. And whenever you've seen anything like it, you've gotten social instability, you've gotten mass popular uprisings, you've gotten rebellions against the elites, and they're preparing for it. That's what I believe this is all about. Stu Peters here shared this. The evolution of Flock cameras from January 2024 to July 2026, these are spreading like a plague. Okay. And here are the implications of this. Now, you want to talk about something that everybody can agree on? This is the Daily Caller. The Daily Caller has actually kind of been on this story. A Flock camera hit turned an innocent Colorado woman into a theft suspect. A Colorado police officer told a woman he was 100% certain she committed the theft because Flock cameras captured her truck. He was wrong.
Everywhere in that town. You can't get a breath of fresh air in or out without us knowing.
Chrisana Elzer learned the power of Flock firsthand.
You were in town from 11:52 until 12:09. Exactly. Like I said, nothing gets in or out of the town without us knowing.
When a Colorado police officer showed up at her door holding Flock snapshots of her truck.
And here's when you left at 12:09. That's when you left town.
To get?
No, to stop at Ridge Trail.
Wait a minute.
And take a package. Well, there's no shushing. I don't need to be.
I need to know where this is.
The first thing he pulled out on the body cam is that flock picture, the clear photograph of your car.
But here's your vehicle in the neighborhood many, many times, apparently casing houses, because you just can't drive through for work or visit other businesses. You can only be casing houses.
It is her. It is 100%. It is locked in. There is zero doubt. I wouldn't have come here unless I was 100% sure. 100%. It is certain. It is on video. You're obviously welcome to go to court.
Khanna was charged with stealing a package, but it wasn't her. The porch pirate was somebody else.
Multiple times you tried to show him your video evidence. He didn't want to see it.
Even when I called him back, he said, that's not my job.
You looked at a time of a crime. You saw my vehicle entering in the flock.
No, what I did was I did an investigation.
You called my wife a liar. You saying this is fact.
I have video evidence. I don't know what you want me to say.
The charges were dropped after Khanna spent weeks trying to get the police chief to look at her evidence. Time-stamped video from her truck and a neighbor's doorbell camera showing she wasn't at the scene of the crime.
What does it say about where we are that you feel you have to have more cameras than the police have in order to make sure you can prove yourself innocent?
It sounds like it flipped the script to you're guilty until you prove yourself innocent.
Without a flock camera, that detective would not have been at her door. By his own admission, he pulled out the flock picture of her car. Do you want to apologize to Khanna Elzer for what happened to her?
For the police misusing the tools? I don't think that I have to apologize.
Nothing's ever our fault.
Other than being reprimanded for his attitude.
Growing pains,
Sure.
things happen.
But I would tell you that I apologize for somebody misusing a tool. I don't think so.
Flock safety.
Yeah.
It was misused. It was
That's
misused.
tech people. Not a surprising answer at all. It's the way they all are.
Okay. I know I'm going to get China Shill's going to be very upset about this. So, hey, man, I give it to you straight. I've said a lot of positive things about China. I've also made it very clear you're always being watched. So what they're trying to build out here, that already exists in China. It exists. Like all of the technology to do what they're talking about, none of it needs to be invented. It's been invented. So this is one of the most famous views in China. Very beautiful. One of the reasons it's so famous, or chicken and the egg. It's on the back of the 20 yuan note because it's one of the most famous views. And then that makes it more famous because everybody wants to go there, take a picture with it. All right. But if you go a little bit to the right, just go a little bit to the right from here, that's what you're going to see. So let me show you what the view looks like with that. Now, you will see things like that all over China, where you're going into a national park out in the middle of a very rural area, and there's a camera. This is what they're trying to build out. Now, I said when I went to China, just like the Chinese say, they have socialism with Chinese characteristics. If you want to have some kind of socialism in this country, that is not going to work. It's not. People are cutting these cameras down now, right? Like you are not going to be able to do it that way. The Chinese people have a very different history. They have a very different relationship to the government. I asked a lot of Chinese people how they felt about this. And, you know, I have a good bullshit detector. I think most of them believed it when they said it's for our safety. Then again, when you live in a constantly surveilled society, you're very incentivized to convince yourself to think that way, right? Like what's in it for you to not think that way, to be pissed off all the time because there are cameras everywhere? I caught on camera in one of my videos. You can find it on my channel, the Yang Show video, where I made a joke on camera with one of the guys. Very like what reasonably you would think is a pro CPC joke. I asked him what side the dragons fought on in the revolution. And I said, that's a question for a policeman. He wouldn't answer it. You know why? There's a country where a comedian got in trouble for making a pretty positive joke about his dogs, comparing them to the military, talking about how ready the breed of dog he had was to fight. Yeah, that is what happens when you have a surveillance society. Of course, it makes it. People talk about in China, you could leave $1,000 on the table and nobody's going to steal it. Is that partly cultural? Yeah. Is it partly because there's a fucking camera watching you everywhere? Yeah, of course that's part of the reason. Of course it is. So for Westerners and particularly Americans, they wouldn't want that trade-off that you could leave the keys in your car if it means you're going to be constantly surveilled everywhere you go. Now, I have a generally positive view of the project of China's government, so I don't feel like that power is in malevolent hands per se, but I still didn't like it, and I don't think most Westerners would. In the case of America, you bring that technology here, and you're just going to be living in neo-feudalism. Like, that's what they're going to do with it here. There's no grand socialist project driving America. It's about profits. That's all. They put in that technology, it's going to be about crushing you. It's going to be about making sure that people can't rise up against the government and nothing else. That's it. It's going to be about keeping you living in poverty and unable to do anything about it. Sis Account 1 shared out a few things. One video here was pretty interesting that he shared. So shout out for this.
Where everyone's hands were shackled to their sides all the time, and they were only given enough slack to move in order to work. No one would call that free or democratic, because the behavior of the people would literally not be free. They would be actively compelled to act a certain way by the structures of control placed on them. Surveillance changes behavior. That's the point. So by definition, people are no longer acting freely under surveillance. Their behavior is shaped by how the watchers want them to act. No matter how subtle this is, it's true. And compulsory behavior is, by definition, not free. So surveillance is antithetical to freedom. Because surveillance is designed to compel behavior, this gives a very real power to the watchers. And that violates the core principle of democracy. Rather than a free society of free individuals acting together, surveillance creates a power differential, where the people behind the cameras now have far more power than the people in front of the cameras. So surveillance and democracy cannot coexist.
Yeah. This was the underlying theme and message, actually, of A Clockwork Orange. It's right there in the title. Burgess's premise was that when you don't have a moral choice, you're not human. You're a clockwork orange. You're organic on the outside. You're mechanical on the inside. You can't be fully human if you are moral by compulsion. You have no choice but to be moral. That's not moral. So this is some of how Flock, whose CEO just told you how much he believes in democracy, is handling its critics. This is from More Perfect Union. A California social club hosted a discussion on surveillance states, debating how to balance civil liberties and public safety. Then Flock sent them a cease and desist, prohibiting any discussion that, quote, describes, reveal, analyze, or speculate about the technical capabilities, strengths, weaknesses, or vulnerabilities of non-governmental surveillance assets and related technologies. Now, obviously, that's a violation of the First Amendment, but I'm sure they have all the money in the world to make you have to go to court. Okay, so VP.net Flock told the Oshkosh City Council its cameras don't track where your car goes. The council found out that was false. They killed the contract 7-0 in about 24 hours. So you are starting to get some municipalities are starting to fight back and starting to cancel contracts.
Wisconsin City Council, its cameras don't track where your car goes. The council found out that was a lie and killed the contract in a single day. This is from a new ACLU report out July 2nd, documenting a pattern of flock safety misleading city councils and police departments across the country. The marquee example is Oshkosh. Back in April, a flock rep told the Oshkosh Council the system does not build a heat map of where vehicles travel. That matters because a heat map of your movements is the difference between a stolen car tool and a mass surveillance system. The problem is, it does build one. Within about 24 hours, the police chief confirmed the capability and the council reversed course and rescinded the contract, 7-0. Flock's response when caught? They called the whole thing a misunderstanding, a minor nuance. The ACLU says that's the move every time. Blame the people asking questions, and when cornered, chalk it up to an innocent mistake.
Or blame the cop for misusing the tool. Shadow of Ezra. A city in Oregon was forced to permanently remove its flock cameras after an audit found that federal agencies had access to the system. The audit revealed that 2 federal agencies could access the data, including the ability to search the broader network of license plate records for up to 6 months. Flock cameras are used as a mass surveillance tool under the guise of public safety. And by the way, there were just some arrests, I think in Georgia. Now we're up to 21 cops that have used the cameras to stalk people. Film the Police LA. During a 60-day period, the LAPD got 161 license plate reader hits for stolen cars that were not actually stolen. That means 161 innocent car occupants had guns pulled on them with helicopter overhead, ordered to lay on ground, handcuffed, searched, and detained for 20 to 45 minutes. So, another bit of good news, Los Angeles has also canceled its contract with Flock.
That it helps them in tracking down suspects involved in a crime. Now, some people in the community like that surveillance. Others say that it violates their privacy. LAPD says that concern is...
Who in the community likes it? Can you get someone on camera who says they like it? I would like to see who that is.
What led to its decision?
Well, this contract's not being renewed because of serious concerns around civil liberty and civil rights issues, particularly around privacy and the data that's being collected from these cameras. So the LAPD had to make a difficult decision of continuing, in this case, discontinuing using Flock services until we can get those data, privacy, security, and sharing concerns ironed out through a contractual relationship.
LAPD's contract with Flock ends tomorrow, and their tech department is not sure if the cameras will still be recording. LAPD doesn't own the cameras. In many cases, they are owned by organizations and homeowners associations who have allowed police and the city to have access to them. Now, LAPD says it is having ongoing conversations with the company in revising the agreement. They want updated language around privacy and the storing of data to be included in this new agreement. I've reached out to Flock for a comment about this, and I am still awaiting a response.
Yeah, Matt Von Swole, actually, I covered a different part of this story on Jimmy's the other day. Matt Von Swole reported there was a municipality where they canceled the contract and Flock said, we'll just keep recording for free. So it sounds like maybe they'll do that in LA as well. So, hey, it's time for a new segment, kids. Due dissidents. Flock camera do's and don'ts. Okay, so we want you all to be safe out there. So first, do let people know who's running this company. Boost that signal. We've got Meet the Flockers here. Jason Bassler actually has been doing very good work on this story. Rakshi Voria, VP Commercial Sales. Mandy Schuler, Supply Chain VP. Alex Latraverse, Chief Revenue Officer. Garrett Langley, founder and CEO. Ellen Greenberg, Chief Operating Officer. Elon, actually. Stacy Moore, Information Technology VP. As Jason Bassler says, if Flock Safety loves transparency so much, they shouldn't mind everyone knowing exactly who converted our neighborhoods into data farms, right? Right. So, hey, boost that signal, kid. You can find that over at Jason Bassler's handle on X. Now, for don'ts, definitely do not do this. This is from Orwell Day. Now, this is what you can do. This is a do from Do Dissidents. These are the do's. New website helps you avoid flock cameras. Don'tGetFlock.com lets you plug in your start and end points, then maps how many ALPR/flock cameras you'd hit and shows alternate routes that keep you off their surveillance grid, because privacy shouldn't require permission. There you go. That's something you can do. Something else you could do is go to the unfairly maligned by the, I got to say, frankly, very psychopathic signaling CEO there of Flock, mischaracterizing this perfectly legal site run by a total nerd, D-Flock, as an Antifa site. Nothing Antifa about it. Completely legal, open source project mapping license plate readers. You know what else you can do? There's another do, not like the other things. Those were don'ts. This is a do. Good news. We have a congressman attempting to ban flock cameras at the national level. Call 202-224-3121 and ask them to connect you to your representative. It's Scott Perry, who's actually a Republican from the great state of Pennsylvania. Flock and flock-like cameras track where law-abiding people go, who they visit, and how they live, all without a warrant. I attempted to stop this with an amendment, which unfortunately failed recently in committee. That's not the end of this, though. The mass surveillance of the American people must end. Call your legislators. Stop the flock. So there you go. Once again, 202-224-3121. This is vitally important, people. They get this stuff in place. It's going to make 1984 look like Woodstock. This is what they're building out. They got this. They got the robot dogs. Why are they mounting guns on these robot dogs? What are they? Why are they doing? You're going to have flame-throwing dogs coming at you, shooting at you after you get captured on a flock camera. So, yes, this is a very good example where, in spite of the Flock CEO's best efforts to code MAGA, yeah, there's Antifa and law and order and democratic. Yeah, it's not going to work, man. Like, if there's an issue everyone can come together on, it is this. It is this. Americans do not want to live in a surveillance state. And I bring up what I saw in China because I really want to impress on you. All the technology to build one exists. There is nothing they need to invent to do it. It exists. It exists there. There is nothing you do in China that they can't track. I'm not saying they're actively observing over 1 billion people, but they have the information. If they want to go find out what you did for the last month, 2 months, the last year, they can, because they have those cameras everywhere. You're buying everything with your phone, right? Like, everything is tracked. They want that here, but to much darker ends. You know, I said this when I got back. I would tell you if the case were otherwise. Sense I got was most Chinese people were pretty happy with their government and what they're doing, which partly led me to the conclusion, you know, all of this surveillance is probably more about us than it is about them. It's probably more about not wanting the CIA to stage a color revolution in their country. Be that as it may, it's not something that most people from the West would want to live in. I know there are Westerners who live there very happily. I would also point this out. China treats Westerners in China like the neighbor's kid. When the neighbor's kid comes over your house, do you care how they eat? It's not your kid, right? It's the neighbor's kid. They do not impose this on visitors the way they impose it on Chinese people. And again, they're not us. They have a very different culture. Overall, it seemed like they were pretty happy with the job the government's doing. Here, not only, even if the society were being taken care of in that way, people here still would not like it. But you're not even going to have that. You're just going to have surveillance whose aim is to keep you living in your car and going to work and accepting that as a life and being able to just grab you and throw you into an ICE facility if you try to do anything about it.
Yeah, so bunch of things here because it's a big topic. So I thought of this as you were doing the segment, but so yeah, number one, obviously humorous presentation, but don't destroy them. You're literally on camera. They'll catch you if you destroy them. You can't do that.
I mean, that's what I don't get with it.
You
You're
can't
going
cover
to a
them up
camera to
either.
destroy a camera.
You can't, yeah, you can't do that. Like if you break it or if you cover it, it's not like they have these little schleppers that come up there and take hard drives out of them. No, the video, you're literally on camera, so you can't destroy them. Don't do that. Don't get yourself in trouble. It's not worth the trouble. But in terms of the websites like the DFlock, there was a similar type of thing. I forget. I don't know if this came up in court recently. There was some precedent where like it was a version of blinking your headlights at an oncoming car to signal that there was a cop down the road so that they would know to slow down if they were going too fast. They tried to make that illegal. Some municipality tried to make that illegal and they lost in court because it was a free speech thing. You're allowed to signal, hey, there's a cop there.
Right,
and that must have had some kind of like broad precedent because now you have like Google Maps signaling where there's cops. And when you pass where there's a cop on the highway, it'll ask you, is the cop still there? And you could say yes or no. And they say, thank you for alerting the other drivers to the fact that there's cops here, right? They didn't have that until like a year ago or something. So I don't know if there was, I don't know how big that case was or what the precedent was, but obviously it was decided that simply alerting people to the presence of a police officer or a speed camera or whatever is not illegal. And that's what DFlock basically sounds like to me. That's what it is. It's a heads up, here are where the cameras are. So if you don't want to be filmed, don't go here, here, and here, right? It's not a call to destroy them or to obscure them. It's just like, here's if you don't want to be photographed, here's where they are. Right? So that's first.
You saw that
protected.
kid? Jesus.
Yeah, of course. Third, the answer that the guy gives, oh yeah, you know, I mean, it's not our fault if this gets abused, right? Yeah, Waze has always done that. Yes, Lawrence, but Google Maps started doing it too. Like it went more mainstream. And I think that has to do with some kind of court precedent. Again, I'm not clear on the details. But the whole, oh yeah, no, it could be abused, but that's not really our fault. That's a classic tech bro answer. That is the move fast, break things ethos. Well, you know, there's no reason we should just not do it, or we should slow it down, or we should reconsider how we do it. No. Just fucking
you misused the product.
Exactly. Just go 1,000 miles an hour and fuck it. Yeah, no, if 160 people have SWAT teams fucking descend on them because they thought they stole a car, well, those are just the growing pains. You know, we'll work through that. We'll address that on a case-by-case basis. That's the kind of ethics you're dealing with in these people. Another item. You know, one of the miscalculations that they've made is they think that they can make it sort of like left-wing and woke coded to be against these when it's actually a lot of right-wingers that are against this kind of surveillance. I mean, if this kind of surveillance was, if this kind of infrastructure was being built out under Joe Biden, the right would be screaming about it all day, every day, which is why that video that you just showed at the beginning, that was 8 months old. You know, that's not a new video. So I think there's a reason why, you know, nationwide, there hasn't been an effort to adopt that kind of framing and that kind of rhetoric, because you're really sticking it up the ass of your own base when you do that. Right. So that is another element. of this. This has a lot of cross-partisan appeal. You know, the post-left watch loser clipped us when we did our Grand Plattner thing, and they clipped me saying saying it's Thomas Massey or bust, and I said that in dismay about the state of the American left. But the kernel of truth to that is that, yeah, there is a sort of civil libertarian streak that I think runs through a lot of left and right wing circles. And how do you oppose a surveillance state when you nuke a campaign based on allegations that are 7 years old that are shoddily reported by a biased Zionist outlet? Like, yeah, they're opposed to surveillance. You guys fucking crucify people based on rumor. You don't even need video, right? So that's what I mean. Like, if anything, this is more a cause of the right than of the left, right?
Well, look
and
at the
itself.
congressman stepping up. He's a Republican.
He's a Republican. Well, that's what I mean. Yeah, I mean, this shows itself, and that the congressman who's stepping up is a conservative. I mentioned in Orange County they were going to try and build the ICE facility in Chester, New York, which is in Orange County, and now they're trying to build it in the town of Newburgh, which is my hometown where I grew up. And that is historically a quite conservative town. It's gotten more purple in recent decades as the libs have moved up from the city, but it's still a fairly conservative town. Like, I'm pretty sure the city government is still like Republican town supervisors and everything. And now they're suing the federal government to block the construction of this ICE jail. So, like, combined with the sort of NIMBY factor and the sort of libertarian streak that runs through a lot of right of center people, like, there is broad support for protection of civil liberties. And you really have to harness that broad support above everything else in this moment. It is the most urgent thing. That is the thing that has to be front burnered. Because for me, that's the most important issue is civil liberties, freedom of speech, freedom of association, freedom of the press, all of that. That's why, you know, the parchment paper logo here, the backdrop of the show, an original show, was a riff on the Declaration of Independence, right? So that is something that I think is hugely important, and I think there's a lot of people from all different political ideologies who feel that way. And the last thing is, you know, you mentioned China and how there was there's a different relationship between the individual and the state in China. So yes, there's surveillance everywhere. Yes, there's cameras everywhere. The citizens seem more tolerant of that. Now, it's tough to know. I've never been, so I can't say for sure. But I'm sure there's some of it. Some of it is probably earnest belief that it's for their own good. Some of it is probably, as you said, they feel like they have to say that, and both legally and just like psychologically, right? It's best to just tell yourself that than to fight with yourself in your head all the time. But you know, the interesting thing about it is, like, you could actually, if there were a modicum of trust between the people and the government, you could actually get away with putting these things in certain places, like outside of school, for example. God forbid a kid disappears and he's kidnapped. You could track the car that took him. Like, there are actually cases to have these cameras in certain places. The problem is nobody feels like the juice is worth the squeeze. Nobody feels like the benefit outweighs the risk. Because everybody is so suspicious that the government is going to weaponize that information against them, that they're like, you know what, even if you could solve some crimes with this, it's just not worth the loss of liberty. And so people, broadly speaking, seem to be of the opinion that whatever good may come from this technology is not worth the risk that it poses to our rights to be free people. And that is a real indictment of the failures of this system to convince people that it works at all,
Right.
Because if people trusted the government at all, you would not have all this backlash, because people would say, well, yeah, why not put it outside of school in case a kid disappears, God forbid, you know, but you don't have that because nobody trusts the government to use it responsibly. You've seen cops use it to stalk people, right? Again, the tech bros would be like, well, you know, that's going to happen. And, you know, that's not, you know, we'll deal with that on a case by case basis. But in the meantime, full speed ahead. Whereas normal people with a conscience are like, well, actually, no. Like, actually, if it's being abused this much already, that means it's time to put the brakes on this, and at the very least do what LA is doing, which is, hey, you're gonna have to make certain guarantees before you move forward here. And so that's what I see shaken out here. But this is an issue that once again does not get litigated. Nobody campaigned on flock cameras.
Right.
Nobody campaigned on
Who
data
wants it?
centers. Nobody campaigned on any of this shit because no one wants it. Exactly. They sneak it in anyway. And this is why, like I said, in all seriousness, don't cut them down. Don't fuck with them. Raise this issue with the people who represent you, because you've already seen a lot of momentum built against these. You've already had, the fact that a municipality as large as LA has put the brakes on this means that if it can happen there, it can happen anywhere. It's a big city, right? It's hard to make things happen in a big city. And so it can happen if you prioritize this and if you just approach it in good faith with your neighbors. Everything else has to go by the wayside. Nothing. It's the old saying, I'll partner with anyone to do good, no one to do bad. That's the attitude you have to take here, because if you're not free to move about without being spied on every time, if you're not free to converse with people, then none of your other disagreements matter. It doesn't matter what you think about X issue or Y issue versus what anybody else thinks if you're not free to express yourself and to talk about it and to influence the political process. And so that's what's at stake, and that's what has to be prioritized.
Yeah, it cannot be overstated how dangerous this is in a country like this.
Yeah.
Like, one of the cultural differences I noticed there that I don't believe it was a put on, I believe it was genuine. For us, we automatically, when we think about like robots, we think about Terminators. If you show us a robot dog, we imagine the overlords turning it on us. So when I was in Shenzhen taking a tech tour, I kept making those kinds of jokes. Those jokes didn't really land because they look at this technology like it's going to increase their prosperity and be put at their service. That's what the government's going to do with it, because that's what they see around them. They see all these windmills and all this solar that's been lowering their power. Remember, this is a country where most people were desperately poor for a very long time. So they're looking around at all this, and it gives them a vote of confidence that more technology is going to make things more better because they've seen it happen. For us, we assume they're going to turn it on us, and we're not wrong because that's our experience, right? Like, they invent this, they use it to fuck us. What are they doing with AI? Figuring out how to screw people who have gig jobs by putting an AI on figuring out who will take the lowest price for a ride, right? That's what they're doing with it. Of course they are.
Of course. Yep. Race to the bottom. All right. We'll move right on along here. Okay, let's go to some super chats and some Rumble rants. You want to take these?
All right.
I forget whose turn it is.
I think it's mine. All right. Free shit. Whether it's cops or robbers, good cop or bad cop, good criminal or bad criminal, Americans are caught in some sort of cultural Stockholm syndrome feedback loop. I got to tell you, man, it's funny. See, Keaton will take heart from this. I swear to God, as I've been looking at the just absolute freaking regardation of the whole Plattner conversation, I've been like, I got to call Keaton and ask him, so what is this left libertarianism of which you speak? Because I guess I just can't do it anymore. I just can't. Like, I don't know what I am, but I'm not that. Whatever that is not what I am. 0744 Pete, Jim Jones preferred Flavor Aid, not Kool-Aid. Well, beggars and choosers, man. Once you kill the congressman, you got to make a quick exit. Alanadel, it's a very common and long-time tradition amongst Israelis to suggest an Israel critic to go to Gaza, which I now firmly believe they actually wish the IDF would get to them there once and for all.
Mm-hmm.
I have the video that we just dug back up from October 8th that I shot. Back to Gaza. Back to Gaza. Go to Gaza. I wish you would be in Gaza. You would not last even 5 minutes. CB Punk. Russ, what's your favorite Maiden album? Mine's Peace of Mind, followed closely by Power Slave, To Tame a Land, and Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. Favorite epic cuts from them, respectively. Peace of Mind.
Yeah,
So
Peace
I'm with
of Mind's
you.
a popular choice.
Pe-
Popular
peace,
pick.
Peace of Mind. Still Life would be my favorite cut on that. Alba Kid. The party apparatchiks, Israel First and Likudniks, are dealing with the rejection of Israeli interests by passing Section 224/219 and Section 217 Senate with the 2027 NDAA. We need Massey in the Senate. Yeah, look, man. If things I see hopeful signs in the fact that the people are becoming as restive as they are. And as much fun as we had with the Little Italy segment, in reality, who are these people? Who do they represent? How many people is that? How many people does that represent? So there is hope in that when you see this kind of idiocy, that's really not a majority, man. It's old people. It's really old people. That's why you couldn't find anybody under 50 in any of these videos of these people who are taking this position. So I just hope that we can turn things around before the country becomes dangerous. You know, it's because if you keep going in this direction, it's already dangerous to live here. That's the funny thing when people talk about it. Dangerous, the dangers of going to other countries. Is the most dangerous, one of the most dangerous countries you could be in, man. Most places, they don't live in fear that they're going to get shot by some random person when they leave their house. It's not like that. It's certainly not in developed countries. Vianticus Prime. I miss Jersey Shore pizza. Never going to see anything like the pizza that used to be because of all the crap in the food. They say that, man, because you see those lists of like what the ingredients were in the 70s versus now. That's why you see like people on the beach in the 70s weren't fat. And in terms of like what they're eating, they ate a lot less healthy then than we do now. And yet they're not as fat as people are now.
Right.
Danny, Keaton, Portnoy, what rating would you give New Haven Pizza?
No, we'll go 8.7, 8.8.
Yeah. Oh, yeah? Not high, huh?
Oh, it's very good. Oh, yeah. No, it is seriously good. I mean, it's thin, crispy crust with, tasty sauce and cheese. I mean, it's very much a New York style pizza. So, yeah, it's quite good.
DC, I've got court arraignment in the morning for a felony possession charge. Wish me luck. Damn, man. Damn. What did you have? What was it?
He's a libertarian there. He doesn't like those possession charges.
Motherfucker.
Yeah.
Well, good luck, man.
Good luck.
Vianticus Prime, quote, we're not forcing flock on anyone. We're just bribing the politicians to force it on anyone. Yeah, that's why it's a joke. Yeah, it's a democracy. There's a process. Yeah. Yeah, sure there is. That's why we have these data centers going up everywhere that if you let people vote on them, I don't think there's anywhere in America that you wouldn't get a majority vote against them. Comrade Cranky, I live in Texas and been flying a Palestine flag in front of my house since January 2024. Justice for Palestine. Good for you. Good for you. I've been thinking about putting one in my window. Most people won't see it, though. I'm on the fifth floor.
You're on the fifth floor. Yeah, you're high
Yeah,
up.
who's going to see it? The only mitigating thing is the park benches are across the street.
Right.
So people do sit on those benches. Vianticus Prime, I can really see that kid committing the pinnacle of heinous crimes, moving a box. Well, yeah, there you go. There you go. Russell's peasant mom, my grandparents or great-grandparents or whatever were Europeans, so I am an extra special peasant. Yeah, aren't we all? Nina Kant, If what Rich was doing was legit, they shouldn't be so paranoid. Richer they get, the more wage theft they commit, the more fees they tack on. Yep. This is a behavior of criminal, paranoid iceholes. Well, man, this is where they say it's expensive to be poor, right? Because when you're poor, you wind up getting hit with all these fees, right? If you don't have enough money in the bank, they're going to make you pay fees. You wind up paying late fees, overdraft fees. I'm going to try to get this cleared up. Because I was in Asia. I didn't get the letters. I have all my credit cards on auto pay. And one of my credit cards, I guess, wasn't. You know what I got fucking charged for? See, I shouldn't even say this, man. If this gets back to him, it's going to keep him warm at night. I had fucking Taibbi's fucking racket attached to that fucking card.
Oh, yeah.
I got hit with $50 on that. This is what I get for not canceling it. I got hit with $50 on that card. Didn't get the letters about it. So it got reported to the credit agencies. My credit dropped like 60 points over that.
Oh, look at that. Karma.
Dude, I have freaking 782 credit.
Look at that.
Freaking, it knocked it down to like 711
Look at that.
because of that. It's the only late payment in my entire file.
It's the Michael Tracy curse.
I'm telling you, man.
Yeah.
So now I've got to write to that. Like, I looked up what you should do in a case like this. I got to write to them and ask them to tell the credit report, because obviously I paid it now. Tell the credit reporting agencies it's all good, take it off his file. That's like your best approach. Yeah. You're talking about if I wanted to get a mortgage now, it would be thousands of dollars more over the life, but over a $50, $50 fucking dollars.
Right.
For someone with a perfect record, 0 late payments ever. Something wrong with the system, man.
There you go.
But, for people for whom that's not a mistake and they just can't pay the $50, look at how you wreck people. Look how you wreck people's freaking lives over nothing. Over nothing. Oh, what am I doing? Comrade Cranky, never open your door to the cops. You have the right to remain silent. Damn right. You should always exercise it because those motherfuckers will smile at you to try to get you to say something incriminating. Andy Gardner, flock cams, fry birds mid-flight. Spread the rumor. Well, we don't want to get sued.
They're
See how
killing the
litigious these guys are. Vientica's Prime, the principle of mass surveillance isn't to prevent crime and corruption. It's to defend it. You don't need to hide in shadows when you can blind someone with light. I think Batman said that. Kemen G, I was in Singapore last year and they have an even more intense surveillance state than China, really. But the public loves it and it's widely popular. Western people can't understand. Yeah, I mean, that's why I try to make it clear. Don't think that Chinese people feel about that like we would. Like that's not accurate. They don't. Vientica's Prime, you're going to have to fix that argument because the letter was fake. It wasn't from Flock. Look on the image. It says Flock Group Inc., which no one can find. All right. I mean, if it turns out, Jake, do me a favor. Try to do a little research on that. If it turns out that's not real, I'll just cut it from the segment.
Yeah, it seems like if they say persecuted, that would be like, I don't think an actual company would say that.
That's pretty funny, though. Ugly old broad says stuff. Grinder flags at limp staff for Graham. Vientica's Prime. Hold on, I just found it.
What does
Found
that mean?
what?
Found what?
Found what? Damn, how'd I fuck that up?
So was it a real letter or not a real letter? I don't know what you're saying.
Daniel Day, sounds like Flock can be used to create better bus routes. Sorry, but my liberty comes first. Vientica's Prime, the one time that you don't check for yourself, you listen to someone else's mistake and make yourself look like an ass. So is he saying that it is a real letter?
Yeah, well, now he's saying just ignore these past few chats. All right. You're excused.
RDW. So it is a real letter.
I guess so.
After giving $4 to Plattner and $5 to Jimmy Dore, I need a second job. Anyone paying people to cut down flock cameras yet? Not yet. Not yet that I know of. Hey, You saw our do's and don'ts. EO shush. You say 9/11 inevitable, and everybody knows the terrorists hate us for our freedoms. So you capitulate to the terrorists and take away your freedom of speech and movement without being tracked, and you still complain. I ain't give away nothing, man. Russell's Peasant Mind. Lindsey, the Air Force taught me about force and air. And young man, I do declare. Luke B83, and not one clear image of Tyler Robinson. I covered that on Jimmy's. Yep. Vianticus Prime, it's been ruled a few times in the federal circuit that flashing your lights is free speech.
Right.
I think the case you're referring to, Keaton, was ruled at a state Supreme Court.
Yeah, I don't know the specifics at all. Like I said, I should have. I mean, I didn't know where the segment was going to go. I would have looked it up beforehand, but it just brought that to mind. I'm not clear on the specifics of it. I just don't know. Could be. Right.
Free shit. I disagree. I believe most Americans will convince themselves to be polite, even if the Zio cult is coming into their houses and taking their children. The Epsteinocracy are still doing it. Oh, man, this country's hypnotized. It's hypnotized. Seriously, it's hypnotized. People walk around with views that really aren't theirs, convinced that they feel very strongly about them. Keaton, is the case you're referring to the one where the guy laughed at the cop after getting pulled over and then arrested?
Again, I don't know. I don't know. I remember hearing that a few years ago, and now the Google Maps has incorporated what used to be just the Waze thing. So just spitballing. I'm not sure what the specifics are there. All right. Just a quick word here. How much control do you have over your money right now? Technology has changed everything, and now it's changing the way money works. And with Rumble wallets, it takes all that complexity and makes it very simple. You can choose whatever you'd like: Bitcoin, dollar-backed stable coins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. There's no complicated setup. It connects you with MoonPay, so you can use your credit card, your debit card, or your bank and be up and running in minutes. And once you're set up, you could even support your favorite Rumble creators like us directly. So you can get started now by scanning the QR code or clicking the link in the description and downloading the Rumble wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet, tap buy, and you're in the game. Wallet.rumble.com, or scan that QR code. Once you get started, you can Rumble rant us. You can tip us right underneath the Rumble screen there. There's the Rumble wallet tip jar. Works like a charm. Super easy to get set up. Super helpful for us Rumble creators. So that's wallet.rumble.com, or scan the QR code to get started. Okay, let's move right on along here. Coming down the home stretch tonight, folks. All right, so some news out of Iran. Commercial shipping visible via marinetraffic.com shows traffic in the Strait of Hormuz has slowed to a trickle over the past 24 hours, with just 5 merchant vessels completing the transit, all via the Iranian traffic separation scheme. One vessel, Ginseng 5, initially appeared to be routing through the U.S. established safe route through Omani waters, but altered course before entering the strait and instead completed its transit through the Iranian Channel. It is possible additional vessels transited the strait with their automatic identification system transponders disabled, in which case they would not appear in publicly available tracking data. Even so, the visible tracking suggests commercial operators continue overwhelmingly favor the Iranian route, despite the availability of the expanded southern corridor. And there's some video there that's very hard to discern what's going on, but essentially, as you can see here, Iran's Revolutionary Guard says the Strait of Hormuz is closed until further notice, according to Iranian state media.
Just want to bring you some breaking news, and that is that Iran's IRGC says the Strait of Hormuz has been closed until further notice. That's just coming into us via the Reuters news agency. Some lines prior to that. They say that one vessel attempted to move along an unapproved route in the Strait of Hormuz and was struck by a warning shot and stopped. And the IRGC saying that following this incident, the Strait of Hormuz is closed until further notice and until the end of US interference in the region. They also say that no vessel will be permitted to transit. And if the enemy uses this incident as a pretext and makes any misstep, it will be met with a severe response. So that breaking news that the Strait of Hormuz has once again been closed by Iran's IRGC.
Oy vey, quite unequivocal language there. However, the United States begs to differ. Central Command says the Strait of Hormuz is open to all vessels seeking to lawfully transit the international waterway. U.S. forces are positioned and prepared to ensure that freedom of navigation remains available despite unwarranted Iranian aggression, harassment, threats, and arbitrary declarations. Iran does not control the strait. Traffic is flowing, as they say. Now, Donald Trump insisted that the strait is in fact open, despite Iran insisting otherwise. So he does say that here on TV, but he really played the Lindsey Graham is dead card to his advantage here, because he makes clear he's not here to talk about the war that Lindsey Graham convinced him to start on Fox News. He's here to talk about his dear friend, the late Lindsey Graham.
They launched a fresh round of strikes overnight. Iran said overnight the Strait of Hormuz is closed. CENTCOM came out this morning and said the Strait of Hormuz is open. Which is it, Mr. President, and how are you going to respond?
And I don't want to talk about it because I want to honor the life of Lindsey Graham, so I don't want to talk about it. I told you that before.
It's open, so shut up.
Open. We bombed the hell out of them last night.
We bombed the hell out of them. We're winning. They're losing. It's
very,
open.
very evil
Rest in peace,
and sick
Lindsey
people.
Graham. They're sick,
we
horrible
had meetings
people.
with them for the last. They agreed to a deal yesterday.
Right.
A perfect deal for us. No nuclear, no this, no that, no nothing. They gave up everything. And then after that, they left the room. And then within an hour, they launched a drone at a ship. I said, you people are sick. You're sick people. And so it's one of those things. I don't want to talk about it.
Finally, before I let you go.
About my dear friend.
I want to talk about one person today, Lindsey Graham.
I want to talk about Lindsey Graham. Let's get back to talking about my dear friend, Lindsey Graham. He did the same thing. He did the same thing when Jake Tapper tried to get this out of him.
Iran has declared the Strait of Hormuz closed. Is that true, Mr. President?
It's open as far as we're concerned. Don't talk about it. Talk about the reason that you asked me to speak.
Okay. We appreciate your time, sir. Before I let you go,
Look at that. Jake Tapper didn't put up any objection. He just, okay, yes, sir.
Iran has declared the Strait of Hormuz closed. Is that true, Mr. President?
It's open as far as we're concerned. Don't talk about it. Talk about the reason that you asked me to speak.
Okay. We appreciate your time, sir.
All
Before
right.
I let you go, is there any other final word that you want the American people to know about Lindsey Graham? What was it about?
Wow, that is some journalism right there.
Intrepid journalist Jake Tapper. Don't talk about that? All right, no problem. All right, so go ahead. Whatever you were saying about Lindsey Graham. But yeah, Trump, this was just a few days ago, called Iranian leaders scum and sick people, and did say that the ceasefire was over because he doesn't want to deal with them anymore. So if that's the case, then wouldn't the strait be closed? No?
Very interesting question.
Huh.
To me, I think it's over.
It's hard to follow.
I don't want to deal
Very
with
confusing.
them. They're scum. You know what scum is?
Yeah.
They're scum.
We
They're
know
sick
what scum
people.
is. Mhm.
They're led by sick people. And they're vicious, violent people. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they'd use it. As far as I'm concerned, it's over.
It's over. That's right. Ceasefire's over, which shouldn't be any surprise then that the strait would be closed. No, but Trump, one of the things that was really astounding about the NATO summit, or not the NATO summit, what was it, the G7? Sorry. One of the really fascinating things about the G7 press conference is that he made it clear to everyone that he knows what the stakes are and he knows what his options are and are not. And he just comes out and flatly says, you know, Herbert Hoover is the president he doesn't want to be. And says basically, yeah, if I keep this war going, I become Herbert Hoover.
I was always the one I didn't want to be.
Hoover's the one I
I
didn't want
wouldn't
to
have
be.
preferred Nixon. I wouldn't have preferred, there are plenty I wouldn't prefer, but the one I always thought of, Herbert Hoover, and he caused it. He raised taxes too fast, and he raised interest rates too fast, all at the same time. And it caused the Great Depression. So I don't think I'll make mistakes like that. I lower taxes, I don't raise taxes. In fact, we just gave you the largest tax decrease, largest tax cut in the history of our country.
Yeah. So here are the strategic oil reserves here. What desperate move will the U.S. do when their oil reserves drop past the red line? Yeah, things are heading in the wrong direction. Oil stocks in U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve fall to lowest level since 1983. 1983. And when you look at the pace at which they are depleting, it is quite alarming. Stocks of crude oil in the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve fell by 6.2 million barrels in the week ending July 3rd to 319.5 million barrels, the lowest level since April 1983, according to data from the Department of Energy. The drawdown is part of a U.S. agreement to release 172 million barrels from the facility to plug a gap in global inventories since the Iran war and help push down fuel prices. Since the war began at the end of February, overall U.S. inventories, including commercial and SPR stocks, have fallen by 120.71 million barrels to 734 million barrels as of June 26th, the lowest since 1984, which means they seem to have depleted at a pretty sharp rate since then. Because if now we're down to 300 and change from 700 and change just, what, 2.5 weeks ago? That seems to be a pretty rapid rate of depletion. That, of course, added to this, U.S. Central Command says it is striking Iran in response to attack on civilian vessel in the Strait of Hormuz. The United States is imposing a heavy cost by continuing to degrade Iran's ability to attack civilian mariners and commercial ships freely transiting the strait, the American military said. A Cyprus-flagged container ship was hit by Iran and suffered significant engine room damage, and a civilian crew member is missing, U.S. Central Command said. Senior U.S. officials had previously said in Washington that negotiations to further cement last month's deal to end the war will be unable to progress without the strait being secure, and even said they wanted Iran to offer public statements to that effect. Instead, the Revolutionary Guard Corps said multiple vessels disregarded our warnings and instructions to correct their course and proceed along the approved route. One of them was struck by a warning shot and brought to a stop. Iran said that the strait would remain closed until further notice and said it would consider targeting additional enemy bases in the region if more attacks. Now, updates on that. Ceasefire unraveling as U.S. and Iran trade strikes again. This is the New York Times sort of updating ticker here. So this was this afternoon. Oman summoned Iran's ambassador to the country on Sunday to express profound dismay over drone strikes that had targeted sites along the Strait of Hormuz, according to Iran's official state news agency. Oman called on Iran to adhere to principles of good neighborliness, condemning the attacks as irresponsible. Iran and Oman are located along opposite sides of the Strait of Hormuz and are in talks over management of the vital waterway as part of a U.S.-Iran agreement signed last month to pause hostilities and end the chokehold on shipping there. On Sunday, Esmail Bakai, Iran's foreign ministry spokesman, said that the foreign ministers of Iran and Oman had met in the Omani capital of Muscat the day before and had agreed to continue negotiations on shipping through the strait, Iranian state media reported. So, yeah, it seems like this so-called ceasefire is unraveling pretty quickly, and the clock is ticking here. There is not long to go before the shit really hits the fan economically. People are saying August is when they expect that to happen. August being the big travel month, the big vacation month. I mean, you're going to see prices for airline tickets start to skyrocket, gas prices, fuel prices skyrocket. It's going to send inflation soaring. And the thing that's really remarkable about this is that Trump seems to know this. He let the cat out of the bag that he's aware of this, right? In that G7 speech, where for an entire hour, he basically said what all of the war critics had been saying for the past several months, and yet he has put himself in this position anyway. And unless they can, get their hands around this within the next month, which is when the MOU officially expires anyway, then you're gonna have a real downward spiral economically and perhaps militarily as we head into the fall. And one of the reasons why, I think the reason why they signed the MOU is because they realized that politically this was just going to be too difficult a storm to withstand. But we don't really seem to be any closer to a final deal than we were when they signed it. So maybe the lunatic Zionists will be happy about this, but that's about all who are happy about this, because it looks like things are starting to come apart in ways that are going to be very, very damaging. There's going to be a lot of pain that this causes, and I think it's going to get more and more severe very, very quickly as we head into August.
Yeah. Hey, look, the market's actually taking it seriously. They're actually taking it seriously. They generally don't. They're generally like, oh, it'll be fine.
Well, especially Sunday night, right?
It'll be fine. Yeah, it's going to get ugly. And we've been saying this for a while. There's just no way Israel allows this to end. They just won't. Look at this shit now. Israeli intelligence telling you that the Iranians are going to assassinate you. That's very reliable. It's very reliable. Yeah. Not like they have every incentive in the world to lie about
lie to you, right?
Or anything to keep this war going. Like, you went out on stage and made it very clear you knew what Israel was and what they're up to, right? So why would you even take that seriously from them? They won't let you negotiate a peace. But they won't. They won't. There was never any way that Israel was not going to constantly create conditions that, because our government is compromised, is going to force Trump to keep fighting with Iran. There was just the only way they were going to be able to end this war would have been if they were willing to tell Israel to go fuck itself. And that was not going to happen.
Of course.
As long as that was not going to happen, you could have all the memorandums of understanding that you want. It's honestly, it's been amazing to me, and hey, maybe I'll still be proven wrong. It's been amazing to me that the financial markets have been shrugging this off the way they have.
Right.
It's been amazing. Like, really? Like, you guys don't get this? That Israel will not allow this to end. So you are going to have a catastrophic drop in the oil reserves and a catastrophic increase in prices. It's almost inevitable. That's going to create a global economic crash. Like, how would that not happen? But I don't know. Greed. It's just greed, man. It's like people are making that money. They've been on a long run with these chip stocks. They just don't want the party to end, man. It's always the same story with every crash. Everybody's pumping their money in right up until, boom, the end. This time's always different.
Yeah. Well, most of the time they say that they're right, and every time they're putting money in the bank with every sale. And so how many times can you tempt fate? Right. If you rack up enough wins, I guess that's enough to insulate you against one losing bet. I guess that's the way they're thinking about it. But in terms of everything else, yeah, no, I mean it's getting to be crunch time now. You're about halfway through, and you have made negative progress, to say the least, since the so-called implementation of this MOU. All right, let's go to some super chats. Carolina 56 says, can we as a society quit the idea that all dead people deserve respect? If you want an honorable death, live an honorable life. Peasant mind at its best.
I like the way you think.
Schrodinger, the observation of a system inherently changes the system. Thank you, Vienticus. Vilma Thomas, Israel believes it can walk on water because it knows it has the full support of the USA. Without the USA's support, Israel has nothing. John Trevina, I was listening to Mozart's Piano Concerto 25 for the 1,000th time in the past year, and I seen Due Distance was on. Oh, really? 1,000th time in a year. You hear about the city in Texas where this guy wanted his land to become a park, but the town sold it to a data center. No, I have not heard that. I have not heard that. Yeah, Texas.
I
seems to
did
be
see that.
where
I
they're
did see that.
greenlighting more.
Yeah, like the guy literally donated it in his will for that purpose, and they sold it for a data center.
Fuck it. Yeah, that sounds about right. Sounds like Texas. Monkey Rotary. How do you guys feel about Russia declaring war? What do you mean? What do you mean, Russia declaring war? Declaring war where? Did we miss something? I mean, they declared war on Ukraine 4 years ago, but am I missing something? You would think that would be bigger news. What is that? Just
I would
something
imagine
right now.
Or should we be kissing our families goodbye, or the nukes in the air?
Exactly. Yeah. The Fitbit my wife gave me looks a lot like a dog shock. Oh well, I got a Fitbit too. And does this look like a shock collar? I don't know. Let's see. Vienticus. Normally I check when stuff comes up on my feed. I didn't realize until after I sent the chat about the flock group that I had forgotten to check for myself if it was a real company. So is it or isn't? You're not being clear. You're not letting us know if it is or isn't. You're talking in circles.
I think you're gonna have to give us $50 more to resolve this.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. I was forced to take down a flag that said "End the genocide" in Palestinian colors. My apartment leasing office said because people find it offensive. Fire organization wouldn't take my case. Oh, they wouldn't take your case? That's fucked up. They should.
Really?
Yeah. Let's see. Russ, I'll give you the flag if you promise to fly it.
You'll mail it. You'll mail me the flag. I have a box now.
Oh yeah, that's good.
I do.
I'm pretty sure Trump walks around at night shirtless and wearing specially designed nipple clamps in the shape of the Star of David. Thank you, Vienticus. Brad Gilbert, what's the over-under on when Bibi blames Iran for Lindsey's death because of the Strait? Also, Trump to Iran, you scum. Iran to Trump, rebel scum. Benjamin Stieber, Mitch McConnell seen in photograph with wife who's currently in China as per Facebook post. You're saying she's still there? What, they faked the photo? America doesn't control the Strait of Hormuz. Lloyd's of London does. Thank you, Pete Sweet. Backdrop looking excellent. Keaton. Oh, what? My set here? Is that what you're talking about? Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. You want to do one more quick one?
All right. Let's bang her out. You ready?
Yep. Let's do it.
Okay. So the catering company for Taylor Swift handed out wedding desserts for fans outside the venue. According to this poster, cry emoji, she loves us.
Officer, please. Oh my God! Oh my God, guys! We're having Taylor Swift Disney! Oh my God! We're all so excited! Oh my God!
This poster said it very well. Closest you're going to get to seeing how Dark Age peasants acted. Yeah.
Were they handing out cakes after the show? After the wedding?
They were handing out the leftover cakes.
Oh.
And this guy basically just completely degraded himself over this cake. Man.
You should have preserved it. You should have done it like what
oh my God!
Like what Jay Peterman did in Seinfeld, where he had that cake. You know, the cake that was embalmed for hundreds of years was like some medieval cake, and Elaine eats it by accident. You know?
Yeah.
He should have done that. He could have made millions of dollars off that.
Yeah, that way. Well, you have those people, the mukbang people who do that. Yeah, that is some peasant shit. You want to see some peasant shit? You want to see what I mean when I say the peasant mind? That is a peasant. That is a peasant. You will not have a revolution in this country as long as you have people like that. That is a sad state of affairs. So, but it wasn't over yet. Next to here, artists collected trash from Taylor Swift's wedding and sold it to fans. After Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's wedding, artist Justin Gignac collected the garbage left near Madison Square Garden in New York, turned it into souvenirs, and sold them to the singer's fans. The celebration took place on July 3rd and was attended by around 1,000 guests, including many celebrities. Police even closed several Manhattan streets for the event. After the party ended, Gignac put on a tuxedo, grabbed trash tongs, and began collecting everything left around the arena. He then sealed the finds inside transparent plastic cubes. All pieces sold out on the first day. The artist kept one cube for himself. He plans to give it to Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce if they want such an unusual souvenir. This is not a new project for Gignac. For about 25 years, he has been selling New York trash packaged as art objects. Okay, so he made a little video of this.
I wanted to come out and do the New York City Garbage Not Invited edition, obviously dressed for the occasion. I know a lot of people wanted to be here today to support their girl, T Swift. I couldn't be here, so I'm picking up garbage around Madison Square Garden as close as you would have gotten, so you can be here in spirit and carry around a piece of their wedding day in your pocket wherever you go.
Imagine one day, this Pixie Day 777. Imagine one day realizing that Taylor Swift is actually a regular person just like you, and you spend hard-earned money on her garbage, which, mind you, also, there is other people's trash in there too. Just nasty. Yeah, when I saw this, because a lot of the pictures with the stories are misleading because they show you these bags of garbage as if it came out from the wedding. No, man, he just went around with the tongs and picked up the garbage around Madison Square Garden. Like, that's not even... Jeremy, can we add Swifties to the DSM-5 as a mental illness? It would be bad enough if the trash came from the wedding, but it was just street trash from around the venue. That's amazing. Hey, my hat is off to this guy, man. My hat is off to you. I don't know if he's trolling or what. You could not find a better way to demonstrate the fundamental rot at the core of American society than to do what he did. And sell out in a day. That's incredible. That is a country where people have too much time on their hands. And hey, who are they even worshiping? Who are they even worshiping? So this is an interesting video I came across. This is Jay Diggs. Give him a follow. He did a good job here. Why only rich kids become pop stars now?
Before anyone ever knew the name Taylor Swift, she already had financial backing by a senior Wall Street executive, her father. Her dad, Scott Swift, is a longtime financial advisor at Merrill Lynch. He founded his own team within a company called the Swift Group and worked his way up to first vice president. When Taylor was 11, she made her first trip to Nashville with her mom and gave out demo tapes to every label on Music Row. But every one of them passed her up. They weren't interested. So her parents went a different route. Her parents hired a big New York talent manager named Dan Dimtro. Now Dan, he got her a modeling deal with Abercrombie & Fitch as a part of their Rising Stars campaign. Dan also got one of her songs placed on a Maybelline compilation CD, and he got her into the rooms with major record labels in Nashville. So her RCA development deal didn't come from a random demo or an audition. It was the work of Dan, who built a portfolio up so labels would take her seriously, all paid for by Merrill Lynch. Plus, when Taylor signed her deal, her parents did something that most parents can't even think about doing. They packed up their whole life and they moved. Scott, he transferred to the Nashville office. Her mom, Andrea, she quit her own career and they sold the family farm and relocated to Tennessee so Taylor could be closer to the music industry. But then something happened that the music industry had never seen before. When Taylor left RCA and was about to sign with Big Machine Records, Scott Swift bought a 3% stake in the record label. He paid somewhere around $500,000. And then the next thing you know, Taylor Swift is beating out Beyonce at award shows.
I'm really happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish. But Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time.
So with Taylor, you hear the girl from a Christmas tree farm narrative, and it's kind of funny because it leaves out everything else. And basically every modern pop star has some version of the same playbook. Family money, professional management years before there's even a real career, and the family is willing to relocate or give financial support so the kid doesn't have to work and they could just pursue music full time.
If that's not medieval peasant shit, I don't know what is, man. That's not it. It's not even like, oh man, you know, she was working at the Tasty Freeze, and you know, some record producer heard her singing while she made up the ice cream, right? No, man, she's a rich girl who would never, one of the most bland and uninteresting pop stars of my lifetime. All packaged, all produced, all just managed and paid for from childhood. Why would you worship that? Oh my God, I got cake from this person. It's not even like you're talking about a great artist like Michael Jackson. You know, like what the fuck, man? Like, this is just a rich girl whose finance bro daddy bought her a music career. And you're gonna be out there. Look, you shouldn't be out there humiliating yourself like that for anybody. Like, that is the peasant mind, man. Like, oh my God, I got a cake. Shouldn't do that for anybody. But on top of it, to really, really drive the medieval peasant point home, it's basically an aristocrat. She's literally an aristocrat. She's from the upper class, and that class made her a pop star. And then you're going to go hang around outside her wedding, just like a medieval peasant. They would wait outside for gifts, you know, for them to throw money to them, that kind of thing. About royal events like that, royal weddings. That's what you are, man. You reduced yourself to a fucking medieval peasant. It's amazing to me that you got people out there with that little self-respect, that little pride, who are just that mentally broken down. And again, hypnotized. You're hypnotized, man. Why do you think Taylor Swift's good? Because they told you she is. She's not good. She's boring as fuck. Boring as fuck. I've never heard anything from her that was more interesting than a freaking gum commercial. And you've been broken down mentally to worship this person. It's amazing.
Yeah, there's no accounting for taste. I mean, you know, there's superhero movies, there's Taylor Swift. I mean, you know, it's all one and the same. I
Slop.
think. Yeah, it's all just
slop.
Yeah, it's all slop. It's all slop. You know, I do think you have, just in general, I think what leaves a lane a mile wide for someone like Taylor Swift is that there's really not anything great out there now. There's some good artists out there now, but nothing great. There's this other guy. This guy's named Noah Khan, this singer-songwriter. Fucking guy's selling out.
That's Chaka Khan's son, right?
Yeah. He's Noah Khan. He's this New England songwriter. I think he's from Rhode Island or wherever. I listened to his new thing. I was considering reviewing it for the channel. And, you know, I only review something if I have something to say about it. It's fine, you know, but this guy's selling out stadiums. This guy just sold out 4 shows at Fenway Park. It's an entire stadium tour. So every show is a stadium, and they're all sold out. For what? For what? I don't know what this guy's backstory is, or if he has any kind of, like, you know, big money behind him from a young age. I have no idea. But if he didn't, it's the same point, which is it shows that there's such a starvation for, you know, just like real good music, that they'll make a guy who's fairly boilerplate. Like, I don't think he's bad, but who's fairly boilerplate. They'll make him a superstar just because he does the thing, you know, just because he goes through the motions and does the thing. You know, you don't have You don't have anybody really rocking it to the point where it makes sense that there would be a star bigger than her. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I don't like her music, but is there somebody else who's getting robbed out there who should be packing stadiums? No, not really. Not really.
I mean, but
artist.
you wouldn't know, because that's kind of the point of that guy's video, man. The kind of the weirdos like Janis Joplin, they're not even going to get in the door anymore. Right. They don't even get that opportunity. So you don't know who's out there who might be amazing. Those kind of really quirky, brilliant, out of left field people, they don't get the chance. They don't get the opportunity, and the music reflects that.
It certainly does. Certainly does. All right. We're going to head over to Rumble in just a moment. DoDissidents.com/Rumble. Everybody's welcome to stay and hang and chat. Patrons are welcome to call in. Let's knock out a few of these before we go. Daddy, why is everything so gay? People are stupid, son. God forgive the bastards. Swollen. I've had my flag out front since I heard Joe Biden say 40 beheaded babies on national television. Only exception when I take with me to demo Chevron. Ah, interesting. Ken Texican, thanks for the $100. Appreciate that. That's a very kind donation. Thank you very much. As the dollar sings, the economy crashes. Does Russell's coachman license hold any value? Whatever the case, if I make it to NYC, can you cut me a break on the fare? Teamsters Unite, free Palestine.
You're right. That's under the Teamsters now. It wasn't really my day. That was just starting around the time I got out of the business. There ain't no tourists in a situation like that, so you ain't gonna be making money driving no horse.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for that donation, my friend. Stoop sign. I have a $30,000 Taylor Kelsey wedding condom to sell you. Good one. Most of Taylor Swift's hardcore fans are peasants. We will have no revolution. Monkey Rotary. One man's trash is another man's treasure. That's right. Interesting. Lindsay plus wife photo tested directly says real, but you mean Mitch McConnell's. But crop and save it independently and the test comes out AI. I say, why just a photo? You're talking about McConnell. Graham didn't have a wife, famously. Lifelong bachelor.
Yes.
Let them literally eat cake. Now I'm nauseous. Thanks, guys. But seriously, though, you guys continue to do outstanding work and entertain in the process. Thank you. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you, Cam.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Russ, says Kenman, for consistently dumping on Taylor Swift, a mediocre non-talent who is mid. She's mid.
She's mid.
Mr. Fancy Pants, hey, say what you want, but those juicy fruit commercials were legendary.
They were.
Dude ass face, this is medieval peasant shit. Sir, this is a Wendy's, huh? Good one. And concerto is pronounced concerto. Well, yeah, that's the European pronouncing concerto. But I feel like Americans say concerto. Thanks, everybody, very much for being here. Nord Kudu. Thanks. This one didn't come through for Jake yet. You did a fantastic job on Jimmy K. Next time, feel free to take control of a stoned Kerp. Embarrassing. People love you. You are a sexy genius. So funny, too. Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, Kurt's funny, man. Kurt is great. But thank you. Appreciate that. All right. We are going to take a 5-minute break and then head over to Rumble for the Q&A after this intermission, which Russ put together for your viewing pleasure.
I've got a real classic for the movie trailer today.
There we go. All righty. Well, hey, thanks everybody for being here with us tonight. Thanks to the mods for keeping the peace in the chat, the YouTubers and the Rumblers. Thanks to Jake in the booth. Round of applause for Jake on the way out, please. If you're sticking around for Q&A, we'll see you in 5 minutes. Otherwise, we'll see you Tuesday afternoon, 1 p.m. Eastern. Until then, appreciate you all for being here tonight. Thanks as always. We'll see you next time. Be safe and be well.
Courage!
Please clap.